Sarina, can you put up the temple room picture? So, welcome everybody. So glad to be with all today. This is definitely the first time that we're doing it this way, and maybe even all of us together, even in person, we haven't had a chance to do this. But for those of you who don't haven't had much familiarity with the Sundarakand, I just wanted to mention a little bit about it before we start. All of you probably know about the Ramayana or the Ramcharitmanas. And if you have the book, some of you may have the book, you can actually read the Sundarakand from that same book. That's the beautiful chapter. You'll see it in your book if you take a look, but hopefully you also all have the PDF from the Dropbox, or you don't have to read anything at all and you can simply listen. One of the reasons why we're doing this today, actually the main reason why we're doing this today is I understand that from the devotees who were with Maharaji, Neem Karoli Baba, that he loved to hear the reading of the Sundarakand. And it's a particular part in the story of the Ramcharitmanas where after a lot of separation and yearning and anxiety has happened, it's the point at which the lightness and the dark forces are about to meet and things are going to change. So we're kind of on the cusp of that. I won't go into the whole story because it'll reveal itself as we're reading. So we have a few of us who are going to be reading this, the Hindi portion as well as the English translation. So if you don't understand the Hindi, of course, you can just listen to the English translation and you will get the what's happening in the story. I also want to say that while we were with Siddhima in India, she often would have the Sundarakand read by professionals, which is where I heard it the first time. And it was a beautiful, joyous occasion where we were sitting in the Hanuman Mandir. This was in the Rishikesh temple. And the musicians had come, and there was a drummer and a couple of singers, and it was just beautiful. And everybody sat in the room together and basically read these 60 or so pages, and it was sung, beautiful melodies. So since we really can't do that today, we've simplified it, and we are going to do our best. None of us are experts at this, but we really wanted to share this practice together with all of you. So we're so happy that you're here. The image that's on your screen is, some of you will recognize it, is the image of the little cave sort of a temple from Rishikesh, from Maharaji's temple in Rishikesh, which is underneath the very tall Hanuman that you can see from the road or when you're in the temple complex. If you go underneath, there is this little space. And it was always one of my favorite places to sit and do practice. And you'll notice there that there's an image of Maharaji in black and white. It's an older image of him. There's a beautiful Hanumanji sitting in a posture of meditation. Next to that is an image of the Ram Parivar, it's called. And that's the family of Ram. Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and Hanuman. And then also is Hanumanji flying, carrying Dronagiri, the mountain, and Maharaji as well. And one of the things that Ma said to us whenever we came to Rishikesh and we enjoyed it so much, she said, this temple was built for you to do practice. So today, since we can't be there, we'll be here together and do practice together. Okay, Sarina. So let's just start with 3 Oms together. And then I'm going to begin with the first shloka. Okay. Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. Shantam Shashvatama Prameyam Ghanam Nirvana Shanti Pradam Brahma Shambhu Paninendra Sevya Manisham Vedanta Vedyam Vibhum Ramakhyam Jagadishwarim Suragurum Maya Manushyam Harim Vandeham Karunakaram Raghuvaram Bhupala Chudamanim. I adore the Lord of the universe, bearing the name of Ram, the chief of Raghu's line and the crest jewel of kings, the mine of compassion, the dispeller of all sins, appearing in human form through his Maya, deluding potency, the greatest of all gods, knowable through Vedanta, the Upanishads, constantly worshipped by Brahma, the creator, Shambhu, Lord Shiva, and Shesha, the serpent lord, the bestower of supreme peace in the form of final beatitude, placid, eternal, beyond the ordinary means of cognition, sinless and all-pervading. Nanyas priha ragupate hridayas madhye satyam vadami cha bhavan kilantaratma bhaktim prayacha raghupungava nirbharame kamadhido sarahitam kuru manasam. There is no other craving in my heart, O Lord of the Raghus. I speak the truth, and you are the spirit indwelling the hearts of all. Grant me intense devotion to your feet, O crest jewel of Raghus, and free my mind from faults like concupiscence, etc. Atulit baladhamam hemashelavadeham dhanujavan krishanam jnaninam agraganyam sakala guna nidhanam panaranamadisham Raghupati priya bhaktam vatajatam namami. I bow to the son of the wind, the beloved devotee of Sri Ram, the lord of the Raghus, the chief of the monkeys, the abode of all virtues, the foremost among the wise, a fire to consume the forest of the whole demon race, possessing a body shining as a mountain of gold, and a home of immeasurable strength. जामवंत के बचन सुहाई सुनि हनुमंत हृदय अति भाई तब लगी माही पर केहु तुम भाई सही दुख कंड मूल फल खाई जब लगी आवो सीत ही देखी होई काजू मोहि हर्ष विशेषी यह कहिने सबनी कहु माता चले हर्षि धरि रघुनाथ सिंधु तीर एक भूधर सुंदर कौतुक कूदी चढ़े उता ऊपर बार बार रघुबीर सभारी तारे कहु पवन तनय बल भारी जय ही गिरि चरण दे हनुमंता चलयो सुगा पताल तुरंता जिमिया मोघ रघुपति कर बाना एहि भांति चले हनुमान जल निधि रघुपति दूत बिचारी तय मैं ना कहोई श्रमहारी. Hanuman was much delighted at heart to hear the heartening speech of Jambavan. He said, "Suffering hardships and living on bulbs, roots, and fruits, wait for me, brethren, till I return after seeing Sita. I am sure our object will be accomplished, as I feel very cheerful." So saying, and after bowing his head to them, all he set out full of joy with an image of Sri Ram, the Lord of the Raghus, enshrined in his heart. There was a beautiful hill on the sea coast. He lightly sprang onto its top. and invoking the hero of Raghu's line again and again, the son of the wind took a leap with all his might. The hill on which Hanuman planted his foot while leaping sank down immediately into the nethermost region, Patala. Hanuman sped forth in the same way as the unerring shaft of Sri Rama, the Lord of the Raghus. Knowing him to be Sri Rama's emissary, the deity presiding over the ocean spoke to Mount Menaka. Relieve him of his fatigue, O Menaka, by allowing him to rest on you. Do Hanuman tehi parasa karapuni kinha pranam Rama kaju kinhe binu mohi kaha bishram. Hanuman simply touched the mountain with his hand and then made obeisance to it, saying, "There can be no rest for me till I have accomplished Sri Ram's work." Jata pavana sutta devana dekha jane kahu bala buddhi visesha surasa nama ahina ke mata pathi nahi hai kahi te hi bata aaj surana mohi dina ahara sunata bachana kah pavana tuma kumara राम काज करी फिर मैं आवो सीता के सुधि प्रभु ही सुनावो तब तब बदन पठियो है आई सत्या कहो मोहि जान दे माई कवन के हो जातन दे नहीं जाना ग्रस सिना मोहि केहु हनुमाना जो जन भारी तेहु बदन पसारा कपितनु की न दुगुन विस्तारा सोरह जो जन मुकते हिठायो तुरत पवन सुत बति सभायो जस जस सुर सबदनु भरावा तासु दून कपि रूप दिखावा सत जो जन तेहि आनन कीन्हा अति लघु रूप पवन सुत लीना बदन पेठी पुनि बेहर आवा माग बिदाता ही सीरु नावा मोहि सुरन जहि लागी पठावा बुद्धि बल मरमु तोर में पावा. The gods saw the son of the wind god sweeping along, and in order to test his extraordinary strength and intelligence, they sent Surasa, a mother of the serpents, who came near him and said, "The gods have provided me a meal today." On hearing these words, the son of the wind god said in reply, "Let me return after accomplishing Sri Rama's errand and tell my lord the news of Sita. Then I will approach you and enter your mouth. I tell you the truth, mother. Only let me go now." When, however, she would not let him go on any account, Hanuman said, "Then why not devour me?" She distended her mouth to a distance of 8 miles, while the chief of the monkeys grew double the size of her mouth. She stretched her mouth to a circumference of 128 miles, and the son of the wind god immediately took a form covering 256 miles. Even as Surasa expanded her jaws, the chief of the monkeys manifested a form twice as large as her mouth. When she further expanded her mouth 800 miles wide, the son of the wind god assumed a very minute form, by which she entered her mouth and came out again, bowing his head to her, begged to proceed. "I have gauged the extent of your wit and strength, the errand for which the gods had dispatched me." Rama kaj sab karhiyahu, tumah bala buddhi nidhana, आशीष दे गए सो हरसी चले Hanuman. You will accomplish all the work of Sri Ram, a storehouse that you are of strength and intelligence. Having blessed Hanuman, she departed, and Hanuman too joyfully resumed his journey through the air. Nisichari eka sindhu mahurahe, karimaya nabhuke khagagahe, jiva jantu je gagana urai, jala bilo kitina ke parichai. Gahe chaha sakasono na urai, ehi bidhi sada gagana charakahe, soy chala hanumana kahakina, tasu kapatu kapi turati china. Tahi mari maruta suta bira, baridhi par gayu mati dhira. Taha jay dekhi bana shobha, jumjata chamcharik madhulobha. Nana taru phala phula sahi, khagamraga branda dekhi mana bhai. Shaila bisala dekhi eka aage, ta paradhe chade ubhaya tage. Umana kachu kapike adhikai, Prabhu pratap jo khalah khai. गिरि पर चढ़ी लंकते ही देखी, कही ना जाय अति दुर्गा विशेषी. अति उतंग जल निधि चहुपासा, कनक कोट कर परम prakasha. There was a demoness who dwelt in the ocean and could catch the birds in the air by conjuring tricks. Seeing on the surface of the water the reflection of the creature that coursed in the air, she would catch it, and the bird was unable to move. In this way, she would devour birds every day. She employed the same trick against Hanuman, but the chief of the monkeys at once saw through her game. The valiant son of the wind god, dispatched her and swept across the ocean, resolute of mind as he was. Reaching the other shore, he gazed on the loveliness of the forest, with the bees humming in quest of honey. Trees of various kinds looked charming with fruits and flowers, and he was particularly delighted at heart to see the numerous birds and beasts. Beholding a huge mountain ahead of him, he fearlessly ran up to its summit. The chief of the monkeys, O Uma, deserved no credit for it. It was all attributable to the glory of the Lord, who devours death himself. Climbing up the hill, he surveyed Lanka, a most marvelous fortress that defied description. It was very high and was enclosed by the ocean on all sides. The ramparts of gold shed great luster all around.
Kanaka koti bichitra manikrita sundarayanta nagana chahata hata subata biticharu purabahu bidibana gaja bajika charani karapara chararata baruta niki koganai Bahurupanichara juta ati balasena baranatana banai bana baga upapana patika sarakupa papi sohahi nara nagasura kandara bakanya rupa munamani mohahi Kahu malatahe bishala shaila samana atti balagajari nana aha akarane birahi bahu bidi eka ekkanata jahi karijatana patakotina pikitana Nagara Hudisa Chahi Kahu Mahishimanusha Denukara Ajakala Nisachara Bachahi Ehi Lagitula Sidasanihiki Kata Kachu Eka Hakai Raghubira Saratirata Ani Jagagati Pahi Sahi. The charming city was enclosed by a fortification wall of gold, inlaid with precious stones of various kinds, and contained many beautiful houses, crossroads, bazaars, lovely streets and lanes, and it was decorated in every way. Who could count the multitudes of elephants, horses, and mules, the crowds of foot soldiers and chariots, the troops of demons of every shape, a formidable host beyond description? Groves and orchards, gardens and parks, lakes, and also wells, big and small, look charming. Daughters of human beings, Nagas, gods, and Gandharvas, celestial musicians, enraptured with their beauty the minds of even hermits. Here roared mighty wrestlers endowed with huge mountain-like forms. They grappled with one another in many ways, in different courts, and challenged one another to a duel. Myriads of champions possessing frightful forms sedulously guarded the city on all sides. Elsewhere, the vile demons feasted on buffaloes, human beings, cows, donkeys, and goats. Tulasidas has briefly told their story only because they will drop their bodies at the sanctuary of Sri Ram's arrows and thereby attain the supreme state. Purara kavare jaki bahukapi manakina bichara attira gurupadara nishinagara karopaisara. Seeing a host of guards defending the city, the chief of monkeys thought to himself, "Let me assume a very minute form and enter the city at night." Masaka samanarupa kapidari lamkahi chalasumeri narahari namalankini ekanisachari sokahachalisi mohinimdari janehi nahi maramo satamura Mura ahara jahalagi kora mutika ikamahaka pihani Dhurdira bamata darani danamani Puni sambara utisalanga Jori panikarabanaya samga Jabaravanahi Brahmaparadina Chalatabiram Chikahi Mohichina Mikala Hositai Kapike Mara Tabajane Sunisi Chara Samgare Tatamura Atipunya Bahuta Deko Nayanara Makaraduta. Hanuman assumed a form as small as a gnat, and invoking the Lord in human semblance, Bhagavan Sri Ram, headed toward Lanka. At the gateway of Lanka lived a demoness, Lankini by name. Where should you be going, heedless of me? She said. Fool, you have not been able to know who I am? Every thief hereabout is my food. The great monkey dealt her such a blow with his fist that she toppled down vomiting blood. Then, recovering herself, Lankini, stood up and joined her palms in dismay and humbly addressed him. When Brahma granted Ravan the boon he asked for, the Creator furnished me with the following clue to the extermination of the demon race. While departing, when you get discomfited by the blow from a monkey, know that all is over with the demon race. I must have earned a very great merit, dear Hanuman, that I have been blessed with the sight of Sri Ram's own messenger. Tata svarga apapaga sukha dariya tula eka anga tula natahi sakala milijo sukha lava satasanga. In one scale of the balance, dear son, put together the delights of heaven and the bliss of final beatitude, but they will all be outweighed by a moment's joy derived from communion with the saints. Prabhisi nagara kiche sabakaja, Srijayara ki kosala puraraja, Karala sudarupakara himetai, Gopada Sindhu Analasitalai, Garura Sumarurune Samatahi, Ramakripa Kare Chitta Vajahi, Attila Gurupadara Hanumana, Peta Nagari Sumira Bhagavan, Mandire Mandire Pratikari Sodha, Dekhe jahasaha akanita jaha choda Gaya dasanana mandire mahi Ati bichitra kahi jata sonahi Sayanya ketake deki kapitehi Mandire mahunadiki badehi Bhavana ekapuni dikka sahava Hari mandire taha bini banava. Enter the city with the Lord of Vayoja enshrined in your heart and accomplish all your business. Poison is transformed into nectar, foes turn friends. The ocean contracts itself to the size of a cow's footprint. Fire becomes cool and Mount Meru, O Garuda, appears like a grain of sand to him on whom Sri Ram has cast his benign look. Hanuman assumed a very minute form and invoking Sri Ram entered the city. He ransacked every mansion and saw countless warriors here and there. Then he made his way into Ravan's palace, which was marvelous beyond words. He saw the demon chief buried in sleep, but he did not find Videha's daughter there. He then noticed another splendid building with a temple sacred to Sri Hari standing apart. Rama Yuda Amkita Kriha Soba Badani Nache Navatulasika Brindataha Deki Hara Shakapirai. The mansion had weapons, bow and arrow, of Sri Ram painted on its walls, and was beautiful beyond words. The monkey chief rejoiced to see clusters of young tulsi plants there. Lamka nisicharana nivasa iha kaha sajanakarabasa mana mahutara kakara kapi Lagatehi samaya bibishanu jaga Rama ramatahi sumira nakina Hridaya harasa kapi sajana chinna Ehi shana hati kariho pahichani Sadhu tohoi nakarajahani Vipraruparari pachana sunai Sunata bibishana utitahai Kari pranama puchikoshala Kokushalai Viprakahahu nija katabujai Kitu maharidashana makoi More hridaya pritiyati hoy Kitu mas murmadina anuragi Ayahu mohit karana barabagi. Lanka is the abode of a gang of demons. How could a pious man take up his residence there? While the monkey chief was thus reasoning within himself, Vibhishana, Ravan's youngest brother, woke up. He began to repeat Sri Ram's name in prayer, and Hanuman was delighted at heart to find a virtuous soul. I shall make acquaintance with him at all events, for one's cause will never suffer at the hands of a good man. Having thus resolved, he assumed the form of a Brahmin and accosted Vibhishana. As soon as he heard Hanuman's words, he rose and came to where the latter was. Bowing low, he inquired after the Brahmin's welfare. Tell me all about you, holy sir. Are you one of Sri Hari's own servants, Narada and others? My heart is filled with exceeding love at your sight. Or are you Sri Ram himself, a loving friend of the poor, who have come to bless me by your sight? Taba Hanumam Takahi Sabaramakata Nijanama Sunata Yugalatana Pulakamana Mangana Sumirikuna Grama. Thereupon Hanuman told him all about Sri Ram and disclosed his identity as well. The moment Vibhishana heard this, a thrill ran through his body of both, and they were transported with joy at the thought of Sri Ram's host of virtues. Sannahu pavana sutta rahani hamari jimis dasa nahi mahu jibak bichari tataka bahu mohi jana anata karihahi kripa banukulanata Tammasatanukucha saddanahani nahi pritinabhadav saroja manamahi abamohi babaraso hanumanta bini hari kripa malahi nahi santa jaura gobara anugra kina Tatam hamohidara suhati dena sanahu bibishana prabhukarati karahi sadaseva kapara priti kahahu kavanama paramakoli nakapi chamkala subahibidina Pratalejo namahamarad de hidinatahi namilayahara. Hear, O son of the wind god, how I am living here. My plight is similar to that of a poor tongue that lives in the midst of the teeth. Will the Lord of the solar race, dear friend, ever show his grace to me, knowing me to be masterless? Endowed as I am with a sinful demoniac form, I am incapable of doing any sadhana, striving for God realization, and my heart cherishes no love for the Lord's lotus feet. But I am now confident, Hanuman, that Sri Ram will shower his grace on me, for one can never meet a saint without Sri Hari's grace. It is only because the hero of Raghu's race has been kind to me that you have blessed me with your sight unsolicited. Listen, Vibhishana. Vibhishana, the Lord is ever affectionate to his servants, for such is his wont. Tell me, what superior birth can I claim? A frivolous monkey, vile in every way, so much so that if anyone mentions our name early in the morning, he is sure to go without any food that day. Asamai adama saka sunamahu para raghubira kini kripa samiri guna bare bilochananira. Listen, my friend, though I am so wretched, the hero of Raghu's race has shown his grace, even to me, and his eyes filled with tears as he recalled the Lord's virtues. Janatahu ashaswami bisari pirahi te kahe nahohi dukari ehi biti kahatarama gunagram Pava Anirbacha Bishrama Punisa Bhakata Bibishanakai Jehi Vidhi Janaka Sutta Tararai Tabo Tabahano Mantaka Hasuna Prata Deki Jaha Janaki Mata Yugata Bibishana Sakala Sunai Chele Pavana Sutta Bidakarai Karisorupakane Punatana Tahat Vana Oshaka Sitaraha Jahav Deki Manahima Hukini Pranayam Bhatehi Biti Jatani Shajam Krishatanu Shishe Jata Ekabani Japati Hridaya Raghupati Gunashrani. It is not to be wondered that those who knowingly forget such a Lord and go adrift should be unhappy. Thus recounting Sri Ram's virtues, Hanuman derived unspeakable solace. Then Vibhishana fully narrated how Janaka's daughter had been living there. Thereupon Hanuman said, "Listen, brother, I should like to see Mother Sita." Vibhishana fully explained to him the method of seeing her, and the son of the wind god took leave of Vibhishana and proceeded on his errand. Assuming the same minute form as he had taken before, he repaired to the Ashoka grove where Sita dwelt. He mentally bowed to her as soon as he saw her. Obviously, she had been squatting away the hours of the night. Emaciated in body, she wore a single braid of matted hair on her head and repeated to herself the list of Sri Ram's excellences.
Nija Padanayana Diemana Rama Padakamala Lina Paramaduki Ba Pavanasata Deki Janaki Dina. She had her eyes fixed on her own feet, while her mind was absorbed in the thought of Sri Rama's lotus feet. The son of the wind god felt supremely miserable to see Janaka's daughter sad. Tarupalava Mahuraha Lukai Karai Bichara Karonka Bai Teyavasara Ravana Taha Ava Sanganari Bahukien Panava Bahubidi Kalasita Hisamujava Samadana Bayabeda Dekava Kaharavanu Sunusumuki Sayani Mandodari Adi Sabarani Tavanu Charinkaram Panamora Ekabara Bilokumama Ora Trinadari Ortakat Hai Baidehi Sumiri Avadapati Paramasanehi Sunudasumuka Kadyota Prakasa Kabamki Nilani Karai Bekasa Asamana Samujuka Hati Janaki Kalasati Nahi Raghubira Paniki Satasune Haryane Mohi Adamanila Jalaja Nahi Tohi. Concealing himself among the leaves of a tree, he mused within himself, "Come, sir, what should I do?" At that very moment, Ravana arrived there gaily adorned and accompanied by a troop of women. The wretch tried to prevail upon her in many ways, through friendly advice, allurements, threats, and estrangement. Said Ravana, "Listen, O beautiful and wise lady. I will make Mandodari and all other queens your handmaids. I swear, provided you cast your look on me only once." Interposing a blade of grass between herself and Ravana, and fixing her thoughts on her most beloved lord, Sri Ram, the king of Ayodhya, Videha's daughter rejoined, "Listen, O 10-headed monster. Can a lotus flower ever expand in the glow of a firefly? Ponder this at heart, continued Janaka's daughter. Perhaps you have no idea what Sri Ram's shafts are like. Oh, wretch, you carried me off at a time when there was none by my side. Yet you do not feel ashamed. Oh, vile and impudent rogue. Apuhi suni kadyo dasama ramahi banu saman. Parashabachana suni kadiyasi bola tikisiyana. Hearing himself likened to a glowworm and Sri Ram compared to the sun, and exasperated at her harsh words, the monster drew out his sword and said, Sita te mama krita pamana katihan tava siri katina kripana. Nahita sapadi manu mama bani sumukhi hoti nata jivanahani Shyama saroja dama samasundara Prabhu bhuja karikara samadasakandara So bhuja kanta kitava srikora Sunu satasa pravana panamora Chandrahasa haru mama paritapam Raghupati biraha anala sajatam Sita Sita bahasi baradhara kahasita haru mama dukabara sunata bachana punimara nadhava maya tanaya kahiniti bujava kahesi sakala nisi charina bolai sita hi bahu bidi trasa hujai masa divasa mankana mana taume mara bikari kripana. Sita, you have offered me an insult. I will accordingly cut off your head with my relentless sword. If not, obey my command at once, or else you lose your life, oh beautiful lady. My lord's arm is lovely as a string of blue lotuses, and shapely and long as the trunk of an elephant, oh 10-headed monster. Either that arm, or your dreadful sword will have my neck. Hear this, my solemn vow, O fool. Turning to Ravana's glittering scimitar. Take away, O Chandrahasa, the burning anguish of my heart, caused by the fire of separation from the Lord of the Raghus. You possess a cool, sharp, and good blade. Therefore, relieve the burden of my sorrow, Sita said. On hearing these words, he rushed forward to kill her. It was Queen Mandodari, Maya's daughter, who intervened and pacified him with words of good counsel. Summoning all the demonesses posted there, he said, Go and intimidate Sita in every way. If she does not accept my advice in a month's time, I will draw my sword and behead her. Pavanagayu dasakandara iha pisachini brinda Sita hitrasa dekavahi darahi rupa bahumanda. Having issued these instructions, the 10-headed Ravana returned to his palace, while the host of fiendises in the Ashoka Grove assumed various kinds of hideous forms and intimidated Sita. Trijatanama rachasi eka ramacharana rati nipuna vipeka sabana boli sunai si sapana sita ise ikarahu hitapana sapane banara lanka jari jatutana sena sabamari kara aruda nagana dasasisa mundita sira kandita bujabisa ehi bediso da chinna disijai lanka mana humbipishana pai nagara piri raghubira dohai taba prabhu sita boli patai yaha sapna me kaham pukari hoi satya gayen dinachari tasu bachana sunite sabadari janaka sutta ke charanani pari. One of these demonesses, Trijata by name, was devoted to Sri Ram's feet and perfect in spiritual wisdom. She summoned all her companions, told them her dream, and exhorted them to serve Sita and thus bless themselves. In my dream, a monkey burnt Lanka, and the whole demon host was killed. As for the 10-headed Ravana, I saw him mounted on a donkey, all naked, with his head shorn and his 20 arms chopped off. In this fashion he went his way to the south. And so it appeared that Lanka had passed into the hands of Vibhishana. Sri Ram's victory was proclaimed by beat of drum throughout the city. It was then that the Lord Sri Ram sent for Sita. This dream, I loudly proclaim, will come true a few days hence. They were all dismayed to hear her words and fell at the feet of Janaka's daughter. Jahan tahan gai sakal thaba Sita karamana socha Masa divasa bite mohi Mari nisichara pocha. Then they all dispersed in various directions, and Sita anxiously thought within herself, at the end of the long month, this vile monster will slay me. Trijitasana boli karajori Matu bipati sangini te mori Tajan deha karu begi upai Tu sahabirahu abanahi sahijai Ani katara chuchita banai Matu anala puni dehi lagai Satya karahi mama priti sayani Sunai koshravana sula samabani Sunata bachana padagahi samujayasi Prabhu Patapa Bala Suja Susanaisi Nisinan Anala Mila Sunu Sukumari Asakahi Sonija Bhavana Sitari Kahasita Bidiba Pratikula Milahina Pavaka Mitahina Sula Tekiyata Pragata Gagana Angara Avanina Avat Eka Uttara Pavakamaya Sasi Sravatana Agi Mana Humohi Jani Hatabagi Sunahi Binaya Mama Bita Pasoka Satyanama Karuharu Mama Soka Nutana Kisalaya Anala Samana Tehi Agini Jani Karihi Nidana Teki Parama Biraha Kulasita Sochana Kapihi Kalapa Samabita. With joined palms, she said to Trijata, Mother, you are my only companion in adversity. Therefore, quickly devise some means whereby I may be enabled to cast off this body. For this desolation, which is so hard to bear, can no longer be endured. Bring some wood and put up a pyre, and then, my mother, set fire to it. Thus prove the genuineness of my love for the Lord, O wise lady. Who will stand Ravana's words that pierce the ear like a shaft? On hearing these words, she clasped Sita's feet and comforted her by recounting the majesty and might and glory of her Lord. Listen, O tender lady. No fire can be had at night. So saying, she left for her residence. Sita said to herself, Heaven itself has turned hostile to me. There is no fire to be had, and I cannot be cured of my agony otherwise. Sparks of fire are visibly seen in the heavens, but not a single star drops to the earth. The moon, though all fire, refuses to rain sparks, as if conscious of my wretchedness. Hear my prayer, O Ashoka tree, take away my sorrow and answer to your name. Your fresh and tender leaves bear the color of flames. Therefore, supply me with fire and do not aggravate my agony beyond limits. The moment seemed like an age to Hanuman as he beheld Sita extremely distressed due to her separation from her Lord. Kapikari hridayam vicharadini mudrika daritaba Janu asokangaradina harashivti karagaheu. Then, taking thought within himself, Hanuman, the monkey chief, dropped down the signet ring, as though the Ashoka tree had thrown a spark in response to her prayer. She sprang up with joy and took it in her hand. Tab deki mudrika manohara Rama nama ankita ati sundara Chakita chidava mudari pahichani Harasha bishada hridaya akulani Jiti ko sakaya jaya ragurahi Maya te asirachi nahi jai Sita mana bichara karanana Madhura bachana bole Hanumana Ramachandra guna bharane laga Sunatai sita karaduka baga Lagi sunai shravana manalai Adi hute sabakata sunai Shravanamrita Jehi kata suhai Kahiso pragarta hoti kinabai Taba hanumanta nikata chali gayau Piri baiti mana bisamaya bayau Ramadutame matu janaki Satya sapata karunane dhanaki Yahamudrika matu me ani Dini rama tumakaha sahitani Narabanare sanga kahu kaise Kahi katabai sangati jaise. Now she saw the charming ring with the name of Sri Rama most beautifully engraved on it. Recognizing the ring, she looked at it with wonder and was agitated at heart with a mixed feeling of joy and sorrow. Who can conquer the invincible Lord of the Raghus? And such a divine ring cannot be prepared through Maya, a conjuring trick. As Sita thus indulged in fancies of various kinds, Hanuman spoke in honeyed accents and began to recount Sri Ramachandra's praises. The moment they reached Sita's ears, her grief took flight. She listened with all her soul and ears, while Hanuman narrated the whole story from the very beginning. Wherefore does she who has told this tale, which is like nectar to my ears, not reveal herself? Thereupon Hanuman drew near her, while Sita sat with her back turned towards him, full of amazement. I am Sri Rama's messenger, Mother Janaki. I solemnly swear by the all-merciful Lord himself, this ring has been brought by me, O Mother. Sri Ram gave it to me as a token for you. Tell me what brought about this fellowship between a man and a monkey? Then Hanuman explained the circumstances in which a union was brought about between men and monkeys.
Kapike bachana supreme suni upajamana bishwas janamana krama bachana yaha kripa sindhu karadas. As she heard the monkey's affectionate words, her soul trusted him, and she recognized him to be a servant of the all-merciful Lord, in thought, word, and deed. Harijana jani priti atigadi sajalanayana pula kalavabadi budata biraha jaladi hanumana payavutata moka hunjalajan abakahu kusalaja umbalihari anujasahita sukha bhavanakarari komala chita kripala ragurai kapi Kehi he tudari niturai sahajabani se vakasukadayaka kabahunka surati karata ragunayaka kabahunayana mama sita latata ho ihihina niraki sharma midugata Bachanana avanayana barabari ahanata ho nipata bisari Deki parama bihakula sita Ola kapi medu bachana binita Matu kusala prabhu anuja sameta Tava duka duki sukripani keta Jani janani mana hujian ona Tomase prema rama kentona. Perceiving him to be a devotee of Sri Hari, She developed an intense affection for him. Her eyes filled with tears, and a thrill ran through her body. To me, who was being drowned in the ocean of desolation, dear Hanuman, you have come as a veritable bark. Now tell me, I adjure you, the welfare of all blissful Sri Rama, the slayer of Kara, and his younger brother Lakshman. Wherefore has the tender-hearted and compassionate lord of the Raghus become so hard-hearted? Does the chief of the Raghus ever remember me, he who is by natural disposition a source of delight to his servants? Will my eyes, dear Hanuman, ever be gladdened by the sight of his swarthy and delicate limbs? Words failed her, and her eyes swam with tears. Ah, my lord, you have entirely forgotten me. Seeing Sita sore distressed due to her separation from her lord, Hanuman addressed her in soft and polite accents. The lord and his younger brother Lakshman are both doing well, mother, except for the fact that the All-Merciful is sorrowful because of your sorrow. Do not feel vexed at heart, mother. Sri Rama loves you twice as much as you love him. Raghupati kara sande suapa sunu janani daridir asakai kapi gara gara bayau bare bilo chananir. Mother, compose yourself now, and hear the message of Sri Ram, the Lord of the Raghus. Even as he uttered these words, the monkey's voice was choked with emotion, and his eyes filled with tears. Kahu Rama biyog tava Sita, mo kahu sakala bai biparita, navatura kusalaya manahu Krishanu, kalas nisa samanisi sisibanu. Kubalaya pipina kunta bana sarisa, beridi tapatatela janabarisa, jehitarahi karatate pira, uragaswasa samatripida samira. Kahuten kachuduka gati hoi, kahi kahu ye, janana koi, tatva prema karamama aratora, Janata Priya Eka Manamora So Manu Sadara Hatatui Pahin Janu Preti Rasu Itanahi Mahin Prabhu Sande Susanata Bedehi Magana Prema Tana Sudinahi Dehi Kaha Kapi Hidayandira Darumata Sumiru Rama Sevaka Sukadata Ura ana hura gupati prabhutai, suni mama bachanata jahukadarai. Sri Rama said, Ever since I have been separated from you, Sita, everything to me has become its very reverse. The fresh and tender leaves on the trees look like tongues of fire. Nights appear as dreadful as the night of final dissolution, and the moon scorches like the sun. Beds of lotuses are like so many spears planted on the ground, while rain clouds pour boiling oil. Those that were friendly before have now become tormenting. The cool, soft, and fragrant breezes are now like the breath of a serpent. One's agony is assuaged to some extent, even by speaking of it. But to whom shall I speak about it? For there is no one who will understand. The reality of the cord of love that binds you and me, dear, is known to my soul alone, and my soul ever abides with you. Know this to be the essence of my love. Vidaha's daughter was so absorbed in love the moment she heard the Lord's message that she lost all consciousness of her body. Said the monkey, Mother, collect yourself and fix your thoughts on Sri Rama, the delight of his servants. Reflect on the glory of the Lord of the Raghus, and shake off all faint-heartedness, upon my word. Nisicaranika rapatanga sama Raghupati bana Krishanu Janani Hidayandira Daru Jare Nisachara Janu. The hosts of demons are like so many moths, while the shafts of the Lord of the Ragus are like flames. Have courage in your heart, mother, and take the demons as consumed. Jo Raghubir hoti sudipai, karate nahin bilambu raghurai, Rama bana rabi ui janaki, Dama barota kahunja tudhanaki, Abahima tu me jaun lavai, Prabhu Yesu nahin Rama dohai, Kachuka divasa janani darudira, Kapina sahita ahin raghubira. Nisi charamari tohilai jahin, Tion pura naradadi jasugahin, He sutta kapi sabatumahi samana, Jatudhana atibata balavana. Moren hidaya parama sandeha, Sunikapi pragata kini nijadeha, Kanaka bhuthara kara sarira, Samara bhayankara atibalabira. Sita mana barosa tababayahu, Punilagaru papavana sutalehu. Had the hero of Raghu's line any news about you, the Lord of the Raghus would not have tarried. The moment Sri Rama's arrows make their appearance like the sun, the demon host would be scattered like the shadows of night. Mother, I would take you to him this very moment, but I swear by Rama I have no such orders from the Lord. Therefore, wait patiently for some days more, mother, till the hero of Raghu's line arrives with the troops of monkeys. Slaughtering the demons, he will take you away, while Narad and the other sages will glorify him in all the three spheres of creation. But my son, all the monkeys must be pygmies like you, whereas the demons are mighty and great warriors. I have grave misgivings in my heart on this score. On hearing this, the monkey revealed his natural form, colossal as a mountain of gold, terrible in battle, possessing great might and full of valor. Sita now took comfort in her heart, and the son of the wind god thereupon resumed his diminutive appearance. Sunumata sa kamrika nehim balabudi pisao, Prabhu pratapaten garudahi kai paramula gubao. Listen, mother, monkeys possess no great strength or intelligence either, but through the Lord's might, the most tiny snake might swallow Garuda, the king of the birds and the mount of Bhagwan Vishnu. Manasantosha sunata kapibani, Bhagati pratapate jabalasani, Ashishadini Rama Priyajana, Ho Tata Balasila Nidhana, Ajara Maraguna Nidhi Sutta Ho, Karun Bahuta Ragunaya Kachohu, Karun Kripa Prabhu Asasunikana, Nirbara Prema Magana Hanumana, Bara Bara Naesi Padasisa, Bola Bachana Jori Karakisa, Abakrita Kritya Bayun Me Mata, Ashisha Tava Amoga Bekyata, Sunahuma Tumohiati Seya Buka, Lagi Deki Sundara Palaroka, Sunusuta Karehin Bipina Rakabari, Paramasubata Rajani Charabari, Tina Karabayo Mata Mohinahin, Jotuma Sukha Manahuma Manamahin. Sita felt gratified at heart, even as she heard the monkey's words full of devotion, and revealing Sri Rama's majesty, glory, and strength. Recognizing him as the beloved of Sri Ram, she gave him her blessing. May you become a repository of strength and virtue, dear child. May you ever remain immune from old age and death, and prove to be a storehouse of good qualities, my son. And may the Lord of the Ragu shower his abundant grace on you. The moment the words, "May the Lord be gracious to you," reached his ears, Hanuman was utterly overwhelmed with emotion. Again and again the monkey bowed his head at her feet, and with joined palms addressed her thus: "I have now accomplished all that I had to accomplish, my mother, for your blessing, everyone knows, is unfailing. Listen, mother, I am feeling frightfully hungry at the sight of these trees, laden with luscious fruits. I tell you, my son, this grove is guarded by the most valiant and mighty demons. Mother, I am not at all afraid of them, only if I have your hearty approval." Deki buddhi bala nipuna kapi, kau jana ginjau, Raghupati charana hidayana dari, tata madura palakau. Seeing the monkey perfect in strength and wit, Janaka's daughter said, "Go, my son, and enjoy the luscious fruit, with your heart fixed on Sri Rama's feet." Chalayu nai sira patayu baga, palaka esita retore in laga, rahita han bahu pataka raghuvari, kachumare si kachujai pukari, nata eka ava kapibari, tehina shoka patika ujari, ka esi pala arubita pa upari, rakshaka mardi mardi mahidari, suniravana patai patanana, tinahideki garjayo hanumana, sabarajani charakapi sankari, gai pukarata kachu adamari, puni patayu tehin rakshakumara, chale sangale subata upara, avata deki bitapagay tarja, tahini pati mahaduni garja. Bowing his head, he went forth and entered the grove, and having eaten the fruit, he began to break down the trees. A number of warriors had been posted there as guards. Some of them were killed by him, while the rest took flight and cried for help. "O Lord, a huge monkey has made his appearance and laid waste the Asoka grove. He has eaten fruits, uprooted trees, and having crushed the watchmen, has laid them on the ground." On hearing this, Ravana dispatched a number of his champions. Hanuman roared when he saw them and slaughtered the whole demon host. A few that had survived, though well nigh killed, escaped screaming. Ravana then sent Prince Aksha, who tallied forth with a vast number of his best warriors. Seeing them approach, Hanuman seized a tree and threatened them, and having overthrown the prince, roared with a loud yell, "Kachumaresi, kachumardesi, kachumila esi dariduri, kachupuni jai pukari, prabhumar takabali buri." Some he slew, some he crushed, and some he seized and pounded to dust. And some who escaped cried, "O Lord, the monkey is too strong for us."
Sunisutta Bhadavam Kesarisana Patai Simegananda Balavana Marasi Jani Sutta Bhadishutahi Tekahi Kapihi Kaha Kara Ai Jala Indrajita Atudita Joda Bamdunitana Suni Upaja Kroda Kapideka Daruna Bhata Ava kata katai gaja arudyava. Ati bisala taru eka upara, pirata kina lam ke sakumara. Rahi mahabata take samga, gahi gahi kapi marde nija anga. Tina hina pati tahi sana baja biri jukala manahu gajaraja. Mutika maricharu taru jai tahi ekachana murucha ai. Uti bahori kin hisi bayumaya jitina je pravamjana jaya. The king of Lanka flew into a rage when he heard of his son's death and sent the mighty Meghananda. Kill him not, my son, but bind him. Let us see the monkey and ascertain wherefrom he comes. Meghananda, the conqueror of Indra, sallied forth, a peerless champion, seized with fury at the news of his brother's death. When Hanuman saw this fierce warrior approach, he gnashed his teeth and with a roar rushed forward to meet him. He tore up a tree of enormous size and smashed with it the car, thus rendering the crown prince of Lanka without any transport. As for the mighty warriors who accompanied him, Hanuman seized them one by one and crushed them by the weight of his limbs. Having finished them off, he closed with Meghananda. It was like the encounter of two lordly elephants. Striking the opponent with his clenched fist, Hanuman sprang and climbed up a tree, while Meghananda lay unconscious for a moment. He rose again and resorted to many a delusive device, but the son of the wind god was not to be vanquished. Brahma asritehi sanda kapimana kinha bichara jauna brahmastramana mahimamati apara. Meghananda ultimately fitted to his bow the arrow known as the Brahmastra, the weapon presided over by Brahma. When Hanuman thought within himself, if I submit not to Brahma's own weapon, its infinite glory will be cast to the winds. Brahma banda kapukachu tehi mara paratiho barakata ku samgara tehi deka kapi muruchita bayu naga pasabandhi shilehi gayu jasunama japi sanho bhavani pavabam dhyana kati naragyani tasu dutaki banda taruava Prabhuka Raja Rage Kapihi Badava Kapi Bandana Suni Nisichara Dyahe Ka Utatuka Lagi Saban Saba Ai Tasamuka Saba Diki Kapi Jaye Kahina Je Kachu Ati Prabhutai Karajore Soradisi Pabinita Birkuti Birkota Sakala Sabahita Diki Para Paratapana kapimana samga jimi ahigana manu karura asamga. He launched the Brahmastra against Hanuman, who crushed a whole host even as he fell. When he saw that the monkey had swooned, he entangled the latter in a noose of serpents and carried him off. Now, Parvati, is it conceivable that the envoy of the Lord, whose very name enables the wise to cut asunder the bonds of mundane existence, should come under bondage? No, it was in the service of the Lord that Hanuman allowed himself to be bound. When the demons heard that the monkey had been captured and noosed, they all rushed to the court in order to enjoy the spectacle. The monkey arrived and saw Ravana's court. His superb glory baffled description. Even gods and regents of the quarter stood meek with joined palms, all watching the movement of his eyebrows in great dismay. But the monkey's soul was no more disturbed at the sight of his power than Garuda, the king of the birds, would be frightened in the midst of a number of serpents. Kapihi biloki disana bisa bihasa kahi durbada sutabada surati kinipuni upajahridaya bishad. When the 10-headed monster saw the monkey, he laughed and railed at him, but presently he recalled his son's death and felt sad at heart. Kahalam kisa kavana tahin kisa kehi ke balaga lehi bana kisa Ki daru saravana sunhi nahi mohi, Dekahu ati asamkak satatohi. Marini si chara kehi aparada, Kahusata tohi na prana kibada. Sunuravana brahmam danikaya, Pai jasu bala birachati maya. Jaki bala viram chihari sa palata shri jataharata dasaisa. Cha bala shri shadarata sahasanana amdako sasamiti girakanana. Tarijo bibita de hasuratrata tumase satana sikavanudata hara kodam dakatina jehi bamja tehi samete nirpadala madagamja kardusana trisira urubali pade sakala atulita balasale. Said the king of Lanka, "Who are you, monkey, and by whose might have you wrought the destruction of the grove? What, did you never hear my name? I see you are an exceptionally bold wretch. For what offense did you kill the demons? Tell me, fool, are you not afraid of losing your life? Listen, Ravana. Recall him by whose might Maya, nature, brings forth numberless universes, by whose might, O 10-headed monster, Brahma, Hari, and Isha carry on their respective function of creation, preservation, and destruction, by whose might the 1,000-headed serpent, Shesha, supports on his head the entire globe with its mountains and forests, who assumes various forms in order to protect the gods and teach a lesson to wretches like you, who broke Shiva's unbending bow and crushed it with the pride of a host of princes, who dispatched Kara, Dushana, Trishira, and Vali, all unequaled in strength. Jake bala lavale sate jitu chara chara jari tasudu tamai jahekari hariyanehu priyanari. By an iota of whose might were you able to conquer the entire creation, both animate and inanimate, whose beloved spouse has been stolen away by you? Know me to be his envoy. Jana umai tumare prabhutaye sahasabaho sanapare laraye samara bali sanakari jasupava sunikapa vichanam bihasi biharava kaya upala prabhulage buka kapi sabhavate tore ruka sabake deha parama priya swami Mirahi mohi kamaraga gami Chinha mohi marate mahimare Tehi parabande hotayana tumare Mohina kachubande ke laja Kina chao nija prabhu karakaja Binatikaron jorikara ravana Sanuhamana tajimora sikavana Dekahutuma nija kulahi bichari Pramataji Bajahu Bhagata Bayahare Jake Dara Atikala Dere Josura Asura Chara Chara Kai Tasu Bayaru Kabahu Nahinkije More Kahijana Kitije. I am aware of your glory. You had an encounter with Sahasrabhu and won distinction in your contest with Vali. Ravana heard the words of Hanuman but laughed them away. I ate the fruit because I felt hungry, and I broke the bows as a monkey is wont to do. One's body, my master, is supremely dear to all, yet those wicked fellows would insist on Bela boring me, so that I had no course left but to return their blows. Still, your son, Meghananda, put me in bonds, but I am not at all ashamed of being bound, keen as I am to serve the cause of my Lord. I implore you with joined palms, Ravana, give up your haughtiness and heed my advice. Think of your lineage and view things in that perspective. In any case, disillusion yourself and adore him who dispels the fear of his devotees. Never antagonize him who is a source of terror even to death, that devours all created beings, both animate and inanimate, gods as well as demons, and return Janaka's daughter at my request. Pranatapala Ragunayaka Karuna Simdukarari Kai Sarana Prabhu Rakihai Tava Aparada Visari. Lord Sri Rama, the slayer of Kara, is a protector of the suppliant and an ocean of compassion. Forgetting your offenses, he will give you shelter if you but turn to him for protection. Rama Charana Pankaja Uridyaru Lamka Achala Raju Tumakarahu Rishi Pulati Jasu Bimalamayam Ka Tehisa Se Mahojani Hoho Kalamka Rama Nama Vinogirana Soha De Kubicharata Yagi Madamoha Pasanahina Nahin Sohi Surare Sabhabhushana Bhushita Bharanare Rama Bimukha Sampati Prabhutaye Jerahe Pai Binu Paye Sajala Mula Jinha Saritana Nahin Parashigaye Punatabahi Sukahai Sunadas Dasakamta Kahupanaropi Pimukarama Tratanahin Kopi Samkara Sahasa Vishnu Ajatohi Sakehina Rakirama Karadrohi. Install the image of Sri Rama's lotus feet in your heart and enjoy the uninterrupted sovereignty of Lanka. The glory of the sage Pulastaya, your grandfather, shines like the moon without its spot. Be not a speck in that moon. Speech is charmless without Sri Rama's name. Ponder and see for yourself, casting aside arrogance and infatuation. A fair lady without clothes, O enemy of gods, does not commend herself even though adorned with all kinds of jewels. The fortune and lordship of a man who is hostile to Rama eventually leave him, even if they stay a while, and are as good as lost if acquired anew. Rivers that have no perennial source get dried up as soon as the rains are over. Listen, O ten-headed Ravana, I tell you on oath, there is none to save him who is opposed to Sri Rama. Shankara, Vishnu, and Brahma in their thousands are unable to protect you, an enemy of Sri Rama. Moha mula bahusula prada Tyagautama Abhimana Vajahurama Ragunayaka Kripa Sindhu Bhagavan. Abandon pride, which is the same as tamoguna, darkness, rooted as it is in ignorance and is a source of considerable pain, and adore Lord Sri Rama, the chief of the Raghus and an ocean of compassion.
जदपि कही कपि अति हित बानी भगति विवेक बरति नहीं सानी बोला बहसी महा अभिमानी मिला हम ही कपि गुर बढ़ ज्ञानी मृत्यु निकट आई खल तो ही लागसी अधम सिखावन मोही तिल कहो ही कह हनुमाना मति भ्रम तोर प्रकट में जाना सुनि कपि बचन बहुत किसियाना देहि न हरहु मोढ़ कर ताना तुम साचर मानु भाई सचिवन सहित विभीषण आए नाय शीस करि विनय बहुता नीति विरोधन मारय दूता आन दंड कछु करय गोसाई सब ही कहा मंत्र भल भाई तब हसी बोला तस कंधर अंग भंग करि कटल बंधन.
Although Hanuman gave him exceedingly salutary advice, full of devotion, discretion, dispassion, and wisdom, the most haughty Ravana laughed and said, "We have found a most wise guru in this monkey." Turning towards Hanuman, he continued, "Death hangs over your head, O wretch. That's why you have started exhorting me, O vile monkey. Just the contrary is going to happen, resorted Hanuman. I clearly perceive that you are laboring under some mental illusion. Hearing these words of Hanuman, Ravana got nettled. Why not some of you quickly kill this fool? As soon as the demons heard this, they rushed forward to kill him. At that very moment came Vibhishan, Ravana's youngest brother, with his counselors. Bowing his head, he made humble entreaty. It is against all statecraft. An envoy must not be killed. He may be punished in some other way, my master. All exclaimed to one another, This is sound counsel, brother. Hearing this, the 10-headed Ravana laughed and said, All right, the monkey may be sent back mutilated.
कपि के ममता पूछ परा सब ही कहो समुझाय तेल बोरी पठ बांधि आवत दे उलटा.
A monkey is very fond of his tail. I tell you this secret. Therefore, swathe his tail in rags soaked in oil, and then set fire to it.
पूछहीन बानर कह जाहि तब सखन नाथ हिलह आय तिन हसी बहुत बढ़ाई देखन तिन के प्रभुताई बचन सुनत कपि मन मुस्काना भय सहाय सारद जाना खान सुनि रावण बचना लागे रचै मुड़ सोई रचना रहन नगर बसन द्रुत तेला बाढ़ि पूछ तिहि कपि केला कौतुक कह आए पुरबासी मारहि चरण करहि बहु हांसी आजहि ढोल देहि सब तारी नगर तेरी पुनि पूछ प्रजारी पावक जरत देखि हनुमंता भय परम लघ रूप तुरंता कनक अटारी भय सहित निशाचर नारी.
When the tailless monkey will go back, the wretch will bring his master with him, and I shall have the opportunity of seeing his might, whom he has so lavishly exalted. Hanuman smiled to himself on hearing these words. Goddess Sharda has proved helpful to me, I believe. On hearing Ravana's command, the stupid demons started doing as they were bid. Not a rag was left in the city, nor a drop of ghee or oil. The tail had grown to such a length through Hanuman's playful gesture. The citizens thronged to see the fun. They kicked Hanuman and jeered much at him. With beating of drums and clapping of hands, they took him round the city and then set fire to his tail. When Hanuman saw the fire blazing, he immediately assumed an utterly diminutive size, and slipping out of his bonds, sprang to the attics of the gold palace, to the dismay of the demonesses.
हरि प्रेरित तेहि अवसरा चले रुत उनचास अठहास करि गरजक कढ़ी लाग आकाश.
At that moment, impelled by God, all the 49 winds began to bluster. Hanuman roared with a loud laugh and swelled to such a size that he seemed to touch the sky.
देह विशाल परम हरु आई मंदिर के मंदिर छड़ भाई जरहु नगर भालोग बिहाला जपट लपट बहु कोटि कराला तात मातुहा सुनिय पुकारा एहि अवसर को हम ही उबारा हम जो कहा यह कपि नहीं होई बानर रूप धरे सुर कोई साधु अवज्ञा कर फलु ऐसा जरई नगर अनाथ कर जैसा. तारा नगर निमिष एक माही, एक विभीषण कर ग्रोह नाही। ताकर दूत अनल जहि सिरिजा, जरा न सौ तेहि कारण गिरिजा। पलट लंका सब जारी, कूद पड़ा पुनि सिंधु न जारी।
Though colossal in size, Hanuman appeared to be most nimble-bodied. He ran and sprang from palace to palace. The city was all ablaze, and the people were at their wits' end. Terrible flames burnt forth in myriads, and piteous cries were heard everywhere. "O father, ah, my mother, who will save us at this hour? As I said, he's no monkey, but some god in the form of a monkey. Such is the result of despising a noble soul. The city is being consumed by fire, as though it had no master." In the twinkling of an eye, Hanuman burnt down the whole city, barring the solitary house of Vibhishan. "Parvati," continues Lord Shiva, "Hanuman went unscathed because he was the messenger of him who created fire itself. He burnt the whole of Lanka from one end to the other, and then leapt into the ocean."
पूछ बुझाई कोई क्षमाओ, धरि लघु रूप बहुरी। जनक सुता के आगे ठाड़, भयहु कर जोरी।
After quenching his tail and relieving his fatigue, he resumed his diminutive form and stood before Janaka's daughter with joined palms.
मातु मोहि द्विज कछु छिना, जैसे रघुनायक मोहि दीन्हा। रामनि उतारी तब दायु, हर्ष समेत पवन सुत लायु। कहे हो तात असमोर प्रणामा, सब प्रकार प्रभु पूरण कामा। दयाल बिरख सभारी, हरहु नाथ सम संकट हारी। तात सख्र सुत कथा सुनायो, बान प्रताप प्रभहु समुझाओ। मास दिवस महु नाथु न आवा, पुनि मोहि जियत नहीं पावा। कहो कपि केहि विधि राखा प्राणा, तुम तात कहत अब जाना। सोह देखि शीतल भई छाती, सुनि नाम कहु सोय दिन सोय राती।
"Be pleased, mother, to give me some token, such as the Lord of the Raghus gave me." She thereupon unfastened the jewel on her head and gave it to the son of the wind god, who gladly received it. "Convey my obeisance to him, dear son, with these words: My Lord is all sufficient. Yet recalling your vow of kindness to the afflicted, relieve, O Master, my grievous distress. Repeat to him, my son, the episode of Indra's son, Jayant, and remind the Lord of the might of his arrows. If the Lord does not arrive here within a month, he will not find me alive. Tell me, Hanuman, how can I preserve my life? For you too, son, are now speak of going. Your sight had brought relief to my heavy heart. I have before me now the same dreary days and weary nights."
जनक सतहि समुझाय लाई, बहु विधि धीरजु दिन्हा। चरण कमल सिरुनाई कपि, पावनु राम पहिकी।
Reassuring Janaka's daughter, he consoled her in many ways, and bowing his head at her lotus feet, set forth to meet Sri Rama.
चलत महाधुनि गरजसि भारी, गर्भस्रवहि सुनि निशिचर नारी। नारि सिंधु एहि पारहि आवा, सबद कलिकिला कपनि सुनावा। हर्ष सब बिलोकि हनुमाना, नूतन जन्म कपिन तब जाना, मुख प्रसन्न तन तेज विराजा, किन्हीं सी रामचंद्र कर काजा। मिले सकल अति भय भय सुखारी, तलफत मीन पाव जिमि बारी। चले हर्षि रघुनायक पासा, पूछत कहत नवल इतिहासा। तब मधुबन भीतर सब आए, अंगद सम्मत मधुफल खाए। रखवारे जब बरजन लागे, मुष्टि प्रहार हनत सब भागे।
While leaving, he roared aloud with such a terrible noise that the wives of the demons miscarried. Taking a leap across the ocean, he reached the opposite shore and greeted his fellow monkeys with a shrill cry of joy. They were all delighted to see Hanuman and felt as if they had been born anew. He wore a cheerful countenance, and his body shone with a brilliance which left no doubt in their mind that he had executed Sri Ramchandra's commission. They all met him and felt as delighted as a fish writhing with agony for lack of water would feel upon getting it. Then they gladly proceeded to see the Lord of the Raghus, asking and telling the latest events. On their way, they entered Sugriva's garden called Motwani, and with Angad's consent began to eat the luscious fruit. When the guards interfered, they were beaten with fists till they took to their heels.
Jai पुकार के सबा बन उजार जुबराज, सुनि सुग्रीव हर्ष कपि, हरि आए प्रभु काज।
They all approached Sugriva and complained that the crown prince was laying waste to the royal garden. Sugriva rejoiced to hear this, for he concluded that the monkeys must have returned after accomplishing the Lord's business.
जो न होती सीता सुधि पाई, मधुबन के फल सकहि की खाई। मन विचार कर राजा, आय कही कपि सहित समाजा। आय सबन्हि नावा पद सीसा, मिले हो सबन्हि अति प्रेम कपीसा। पूछी कुशल कुशल पद देखी, राम कृपा भा काजु विशेषी। नाथ काजु किन्हु हनुमाना, राखि सकल कपिन के प्राणा। सुनि सुग्रीव बहुरी तेहि मिलेयो, कपिन सहित रघुपति पहि चलेयो। राम कपिन जब आवत देखा, किए काजु मन हर्ष विशेषा। फटिक सिला बैठे द्रौ भाई, परे सकल कपि चरण जाई।
If they had failed to get any news of Sita, they would never dare to eat the fruit of Madhuvan. While the king was thus musing, the monkey chiefs arrived with their party. Drawing near, they all bowed their head at his feet, and the lord of the monkeys received them all most cordially and inquired after their welfare. "It is well with us now that we have seen your feat. By Rama's grace, the work has been accomplished with remarkable success. It is Hanuman, your majesty, who did everything and saved the life of the whole monkey host." Hearing this, Sugriva embraced him again and then proceeded with all the monkeys to see the Lord of the Raghus. When Sri Ram saw the monkeys approaching with their mission duly accomplished, he was particularly delighted at heart. The two brothers were seated on a crystal rock, and all the monkeys went and fell at their feet.
प्रीति सहित सब बेटे, रघुपति करुणा पुंज। पूछी कुशल नाथ अब, कुशल देखी पद तंज।
The all-merciful Lord of the Raghus embraced them, all with affection, and asked of their welfare. All is well with us now that we have seen your lotus feet.
Ramavantaka sunaraguraya japaranata karahutumadaya Taisada Subakusa Nirantara Suranara Muni Prasanata Upara Soi Bijay Binay Gunasagara Tasu Sujasu Trailoka Ujagara Prabhu Ki Kripa Bhayau Sabukaju Janamahamara Supala Bhaju Nata Pawana Sutakini Jokarani Sasamukha na Jai So Barani Pawana Tanaya Ke Charita Suhai Jamavanta Raghupati Sunai Sunata Kripa Nidimana Atibhai Puni Hanumana Harashiyalai Kahutata kehi banti janaki rahati karati racha swapranaki. Said Jambavan, listen, O Lord of the Raghus. He on whom you bestow your blessings is ever lucky and incessantly happy. Gods, human beings, and sages are all kind to him. He alone is victorious, modest, and an ocean of virtues. His fair renown shines brightly through all the three spheres of creation. Everything has turned out well by the grace of my Lord. It is only today that our birth has been consummated. The achievement of Hanuman, the son of the wind god, cannot be described even with 1,000 tongues. Jambavan then related to the Lord of the Raghus the charming exploits of Hanuman, the son of the wind god. The All-Merciful felt much delighted at heart to hear them, and in his joy he clasped Hanuman once more to his bosom. Tell me, dear Hanuman, how does Janaka's daughter pass her days and sustain her life? Nama paharo divasanisi dhyana tumara kapata lochana nija padajam tirtha jahi prana kehi bata. Your name keeps watch night and day, while her continued thoughts of you acts as a pair of closed doors. She has her eyes fastened on her own feet. Her life thus finds no outlet whereby to escape. Chalata mohi churamani dini Raghupati hridaya lai solini Nata jugala lochana bhari bhari Bachana kahe kachu janaka kumari Anuja sameta gahe prabhu charana Dina bandhu pranatara rati harana Manakrama bachana charana anuragi Kehi aparada nata ho tyagi Avaguna eka mori mae mana bichurate prana nakina payana Nata so nayanai ko aparada nisarate prana karai hati bada Birata agini tanu tula samira Swasa jara chanu mahi sharira Nayana sravahin jaluni jahitalagi Jaraina pava deha birahagi Sita kayati bipati bisala Binahika he bali dina dayala. When I was leaving, she gave me this jewel from the top of her head. The Lord of the Raghus took it and pressed it to his bosom. My lord, with tears in both her eyes, Janaka's daughter uttered the following few words. Embraced the feet of my lord and his younger brother, crying, O befriender of the distressed, reliever of the suppliant's agony, I am devoted to your feet in thought, word, and deed. Yet for what offense, my lord, have you forsaken me? I do admit one fault of mine, that my life did not depart the moment I was separated from you. That, however, my lord, is the fault of my eyes, which forcibly prevent my life from escaping. The agony of separation from you is like fire My sighs fan it as a gust of wind, and in between stands my body like a heap of cotton, which would have been consumed in an instant, but my eyes, in their own interests, for being enabled to feast themselves on your beauty, rain a flood of tears. That is why the body fails to catch the fire of desolation. Sita's distress is so overwhelmingly great, and you are so compassionate to the afflicted, that it is better not to describe it. Nimisha dimisha karuna nidhi jahi kalapa samabiti begi chaliya prabhu aniya bhuja bala kala dalajiti. Each single moment, O fountain of mercy, passes like an age to her. Therefore march quickly, my lord, and vanquishing the miscreant crew by your mighty arm, recover her. Suni sita duka prabhu sukha ayana bari ayi jala rajiva nayana bachana kaya mana mama gati jahi sapane humbujia vipatikitahi kahanumanta bivati prabhu soi jabatavi sumirata bhajanana hoi ketika bata prabhu jatundanaki ripuhi jiti ani vijanaki sunu kapito hi samana upakari nahi koi sura nara muni tanudari prana upakara karaho katora sanamuka hoi nasakata mana mora sunu sutta tohi urina mai nahi deke yukari bichara mana mai Puni puni kapi tava suratrata lochananira pulaka atigata. When the all-blissful Lord heard of Sita's agony, tears rushed to his lotus eyes. Do you think anyone who depends on me in thought, word, and deed can ever dream of adversity? Said Hanuman, there's no misfortune other than ceasing to remember and adore you. Of what account are the demons to you? Routing the enemy, you will surely bring back Janaka's daughter. No one endowed with a body, a god, human being, or sage, has put me under such obligation, Hanuman, as you have done. Even my mind shrinks to face you. How then can I repay your obligation? Listen, my son, I have thought over the question and concluded that the debt which I owe you cannot be repaid. Again and again, as the protector of the gods gazed on Hanuman, his eyes filled with tears, and his body was overpowered with a thrill of emotion. Suni Prabhu Bachana Biloki Mukagat Harashi Hanumanta Charana Pareyu Premakula Trahi Trahi Bhagavanta. Even as Hanuman listened to the words of his Lord and gazed on his countenance, he experienced a thrill of joy all over his body and fell at his feet, overwhelmed with love and crying, save me from the tentacles of egoism, my Lord. Bara bara prabhu chatahi utava prema magana tehi utava nabhava Prabhu kara pankaja kapise shisha sumiri sodasa magana gaurisha savadana manakari puna shankara lage kahana kata ati sundar kapi utai prabhu hridaya lagava karagahi paramani kata baitava Kahu kapi ravana palita lanka kehi bedidayu durgati banka Prabhu prasana jana hanumana Bola bachana bigata abhimana Shankam grav kai bari manusai sakate sakaparajai Nagi Sindhu Hataka Purajara Nishichara Ganabadi Bipino Jara So Sabatava Pratapa Ragurai Natanakachu Mori Prabhutai. Again and again, the Lord sought to raise him up. He, however, was so absorbed in love that he would not rise. The lotus hand of the Lord rested on his head. Gauri's Lord Shiva was overcome with emotion as he called to mind Hanuman's enviable lot. But recovering himself, Shiva resumed the most charming narrative. The Lord lifted up Hanuman and clasped him to his bosom. Then he took him by the hand and seated him very close to him. Tell me, Hanuman, how could you burn Ravana's stronghold of Lanka, a most impregnable fortress? When Hanuman found the Lord so pleased, he replied in words altogether free from pride. A monkey's greatest valor lies in his skipping about from one bough to another. That I should have been able to leap across the ocean, burn the gold city, kill the demon host, and lay waste to the Ashoka grove was all due to your might. No credit, my lord, is due to me for the same. Takaha Prabhu Kachu Agama Nahinja Paratuma Ankula Tava Prabhava Baravana Lahi Jari Sakai Kalatula. Nothing is unattainable, my lord, to him who enjoys your grace. Through your might, a mere shred of cotton can surely burn a submarine fire. The impossible can be made possible. Nata bhagati ati sukadayani dehu kripa kari anam payani suni prabhu paramasarala kapibani eva mastu tabakahe ubhavani umarama subahu jehi jana tahi bhajano taji bhavana ana yasambara jasurayava Raghupati Charana Bhagati Soipava Suni Prabhu Bachana Kahahi Kapi Brumda Jaya 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 Kripalu Sukhamda Taba Raghupati Kapi Pati Hibolava Kaha Chale Kara Kara Hubanava Ababilambu Kehi Karana Kije Turata Kapina Kahu Ayasa Udije Kautuka deki sumana bahu barashi nabate bhavana chale suraharashi. Therefore be pleased, my Lord, to grant me unceasing devotion, which is a source of supreme bliss. When the Lord, O Parvati, heard the most artless speech of Hanuman, he said, be it so. Uma, he who has come to know the true nature of Rama can have no relish for anything other than his worship. Even he who takes this dialogue between Sri Rama and Hanuman to his heart is blessed with devotion to Sri Rama's feet. On hearing the words of the Lord, the whole host of monkeys cried, glory, glory, all glory to the gracious Lord, the fountain of bliss. The Lord of the Raghus then summoned Sugriva, the king of the monkeys, and said, make preparations for the march. Why should we tarry any longer? Issue orders to the monkeys at once. The gods who were witnessing the spectacle rained down flowers in profusion and then gladly withdrew from the lower air to their own celestial spheres. Kapi pati begi bolei ai, jutapa juta, nana barana atula bala, banara palu baruta. Sugriva, the lord of the monkeys, quickly summoned the commanders of the various troops, and they presented themselves in multitudes. The troops of monkeys and bears, though varying in color, were all unequaled in strength. Prabhupada Pankajanavi Shisha Garajahi Bhalu Mahabalakisha Deki Rama Sakala Kapisena Chitai Kripa Kari Rajivanena Rama Kripa Balapai Kampimda Pai Pacha Ujuta Manahu Gririnda Harashi Rama Tabakina Payana Saguna Bhai Sundara Subhanana Jasu Sakala Mangala Mayakiti Tasu Payana Saguna Yahaniti Prabhupayana Jani Baidehi Paraki Bama Agajanu Kahidehi Joy Joy Saguna Janaki Hoi Asaguna Bhaya Uravani Soi Chala Katakuko Baranai Para Garjahi banara bhalu upa apara naka ayudha giri parama paradari chale gagana mahi ichakari ke harinda bhalu kapi karahi dagamagahi digaja chikarahi. The mighty bears and monkeys bowed their heads at the Lord's lotus feet and roared. Sri Rama surveyed the whole monkey host and cast on them his gracious lotus-like eyes. Emboldened by his grace, the monkey chiefs vied, as it were, with huge mountains equipped with wings. Sri Rama then sallied forth, glad of heart, and many were the delightful and auspicious omens that occurred to him. It was in the fitness of things that good omens should appear at the time of his departure on an expedition whose glory itself embodies all blessings. Videha's daughter came to know of the Lord's march. The throbbing of her left limbs apprised her of the same, as it were. But what were good omens for Janaka's daughter foreboded evil for Ravana? Who could adequately describe the army as it marched with its countless monkeys and bears roaring? With no weapon other than their sharp claws, they carried rocks and trees that they had uprooted on the way, and marched now in the air and now on land, for they had unhampered motion everywhere. The bears and monkeys roared like lions as they marched, while elephants guarding the 8 cardinal points shook and trumpeted. Karahi diga jadola mahingiri lola sagara karabare manahara shashabagambar basura nuni naga kim nara dukatare kata kata himar kata bikata bata bahu koti koti nadavahi jaya rama prabala pratapa kosala nata gunagana gavahi sahi sakana bhara udara ahipati bara bara timohai gahadasana puni puni kamanta prishta katora so kemi sohai raghubira ruchira prayana prastiti jani paramasuhavani janukamata karapara parajaso likata abichala pavani. The elephants of the 8 cardinal points trumpeted, the earth rocked, the mountains trembled, and the oceans were agitated. The Gandharvas, gods, sages, nagas, and kinnaras all felt delighted at heart to perceive that their troubles were over. Myriads of formidable monkeys, warriors, gnashed their teeth in a bellicose mood, while many more millions dashed forward crying, "Glory to Sri Rama, Kosala's lord of mighty valor," and hymning his praises. Even the great lord of serpents, Shesha, found himself unable to bear the crushing weight of the belligerent troops and felt dizzy again and again. But each time he would struggle by clutching his teeth, the hard shell of the divine tortoise. The scratches thus made by his teeth would make one imagine as if, knowing the departure of Sri Rama, the hero of Raghu's line, on his glorious expedition to be a most attractive theme, the Serpent King was inscribing its immortal and sacred story on the tortoise's back.
Ehi bidhi jai kripanadhi uttar sagar tira jaha taha lage khana phala bhalu bipulak bibi.
Continuing his march in this way, the All-Merciful arrived at the seashore and halted there. The host of valiant bears and monkeys began to guttle fruits all around there.
Uhani si chara rahi samsaka jabate jari gayo kapilanka nija nija griha sabaka rahi bichara nahi nisi chara kulakera ubara jasuduta balabarani na jai tehi ai purakavana bhalai dutena sana suni purajanabani mandodari adhika akulani रहसी जोरी कर पति पगलागी बोली बचन नीति रस पागी कंटकरश हरिसन परिहरहु मोर कहा अतिहित हिय धरहु समुझत जासु दूत कई करनी श्रवहि गर्भ रजनी चर घरनी तासु नारी निज सचिव बोलाई पठवहु कंठ जो चहहु भलाई तव कुल कमल बिपिन दुखदाई सीता सीता निश सम आई सुनहु नाथ सीता बिनु दीने हीतन तुम्हार शंभु अज कीन्हे.
Ever since Hanuman left after burning down Lanka, the demons there had lived in constant terror. In their own houses they thought, there is no hope for the demon race now. If his messenger was mighty beyond words, what good would result when the master himself enters the city? When Mandodari, Ravana's principal queen, heard from her female spies what the citizens were saying, she felt much perturbed. Meeting her lord in seclusion, she fell at his feet and with joined palms addressed to him words steeped in wisdom. My lord, avoid all strife with Sri Hari. Take my words to your heart as a most salutary advice. My lord, if you seek your own welfare, call one of your ministers and send back with him the consort of that prince, Sri Ram. The very thought of whose messenger's doings makes the wives of the demons miscarry. Just as a frosty night spells disaster to a bed of lotuses, so Sita has come here as a bane to your race. Listen, my lord, unless you return Sita, not even Shambhu and Brahma can be of any good to you.
Rama bana ahi gana sarisha nikara nisachar bhek jab lagi grasatana tab lagi jatanu karahu tajitek.
Rama's arrows are like a swarm of serpents, while the demon host can only compare with frogs. Therefore, giving up obstinacy, devise some means of safety before the serpents devour them.
Shravana suni satata karabani bihasa jagata bibita abhimani sabhaya subhav nari karasacha mangala mahubhaya man atikacha jo ave markata katakai jiye bichar nisichar khaye kampahi kap lokap jaake trasa तासु नारी सभित भड़ी हासा अस कही बिहसिता ही उरलाई चलयो सभा ममता अधिकाई मंदोदरी हृदया कर चिंता भयो कंत पर विदहि विपरीता भटयो सभा खबरी असुपाई सिंधु पार सेना सब आई तुझसी सचिव उचित मत कहु ते सब हास मष्ट करी रहु जितेहु सुरस सुर तब श्रम नाही नर बानर केहि लेखी माही.
When the foolish Ravana, who is known all the world over for his haughtiness, heard Mandodari's admonition, he roared with laughter. A woman is timorous by nature, it is truly said. She entertains fear even on an auspicious occasion, for her mind is very weak. If the monkey host comes, the poor demons would feast on them and sustain themselves. The very guardians of the spheres tremble for fear of me. How ridiculous that you, my wife, should be afraid. So saying, he laughed and embraced her, and then left for his council chamber, exhibiting great fondness for her. Mandodari, however, felt troubled at heart and thought that heaven had turned against her lord. As he occupied his royal seat in the council chamber, he received intelligence that all the invading host had arrived on the other side of the ocean. He thereupon asked his counselors, "Give me proper advice." They, however, laughed and submitted, "Only remain quiet, my lord. Your Majesty experienced no difficulty when you conquered the gods and demons. Of what account then can men and monkeys be?"
Sachiva Veda Guratina Jau Priya Bolahi Bhaya Asa Raja Dharma Tanati Nikara Hoi Bhige Hinasha.
When a minister, a physician, and a religious preceptor, these three, use pleasing words from fear or hope of reward, the result is that dominion, health, and faith, all three go forthwith to the dogs.
Soi Ravana kahu bani sahai astuti karahi sunai sunai avasar jani bibhishanu ava bhrata charana shishe tahinava पुनि सुनाई भयता निज आसन बोला बचन पाई अनुसान जो कृपाल पूछियु मोहि बाता माति अनुरूप कहयो हित ताता जो आपन चाहे कल्याण सुजसु सुमति शुभ गति सुख नाना सो सो पर नारी लीलार गोसाई ताजु चौती के चंद की नाई 14 भुवन एकपति होई भूत द्रोह तिष्ठै नहीं सोई गुण सागर नागर नर जो अल्प लोभ भल कही न हो.
It was such a contingency that presented itself before Ravan. They all extolled him only to his face. Perceiving it to be an opportune hour, Vibhishan, Ravana's youngest brother, arrived and bowed his head at his brother's feet. Bowing his head once more, he occupied his own seat, and when ordered to speak, addressed him thus. "Since your gracious Majesty has asked me my opinion, I tender it, dear brother, according to my own lights and in your own interest. Let him who seeks after his welfare, good reputation, wisdom, a good destiny after his death, and joys of various kinds, turn his eyes away from the brow of another's wife, even as one should refuse to see the moon on the 4th night of the bright half of a lunar month. Even though a man happened to be the sole lord of the 14 spheres, he would certainly fall if he turned hostile to living beings. No one will speak well of a man who has the slightest avarice, even if he were an ocean of virtues, and clever too."
Kama krodha madha lobha sabha नात नरक के पंथा सब पर हमारी रघुबरहि भजहु भजहि जहि संता.
Lust, anger, vanity, and covetousness are all paths leading to hell. Abjuring all these, adore the hero of Raghu's line, whom saints worship.
तात राम नहि नर भूपाला भुवनेश्वर कालहु कर काला ब्रह्म आनमय अज भगवंता व्यापक अजित अनादि अनंता को द्विज देनु देवहितकारी कृपा सिंधु मानुष तनुधारी जनरंजन भंजन खल भ्राता वेद धर्म का सुभ्राता ताहि बयरु तजिनाय माता प्रणत कराति भंजन रघुनाथ देहुनाथ प्रभु प्रभु देहि भजहु राम बिनु हेतु सनेहि शरण गई प्रभु ताहु न त्यागा विश्वद्रोह कृत अगजहि लागा जासु नाम त्रयतापन सवाना सोई प्रभु प्रगट समुझ जिय रावण.
Sri Ram, dear brother, is no mere human king. He's the Lord of the universe and the death of death himself. He is the Brahma, the Absolute, who is free from the malady of Maya, the unborn God, all-pervading, invincible, without end or beginning. An ocean of compassion. He has assumed the form of a human being for the good of earth, the Brahman, the cow, and the gods. Listen, brother, he delights his devotees and breaks the ranks of the impious, and is the champion of the Vedas and true religion. Giving up enmity with him, bow your head to him, for the Lord of the Raghus relieves the distress of those who seek refuge in him. My master, restore Videha's daughter to the Lord Sri Ram and adore him, the disinterested friend of all. On being approached, he forsakes not even him who has incurred sin by wishing ill to the whole world. Bear this in mind, Ravan. The same Lord whose name destroys the threefold agony has manifested himself in human form.
बार बार पद लागे बुनाया करू दशीषा परिहरिमान मोह मदा भाजहु कोशलाधीशा मुनिपलस्ति निज शीश सना कही पाठे यहाँ बाता तुरत सोमाई प्रभु सना कही पे सुअवसरु
Again and again I fall at your feet and pray you, Ravana, abandoning pride, infatuation, and arrogance. Adore the Lord of Koshala. The sage Pulastya, our grandfather, has sent this message to us through a disciple of his. Availing myself of this golden opportunity, dear brother, I have immediately conveyed it to you.
Malyavanta ati sachiva sayana ta subachana suni ati sukhamana tata anujata vaniti bhushana so uradhara hujo kahata bibhishan riputa kar sakahata sathado durina karahu iya kohu malyavanta griya gayahu bahori कहे विभीषण पुनि कर जोरी सुमति कुमति सबके उर रही नात पुराण निगम अस कही जहाँ सुमति तहाँ संपत्ति नाना जहाँ कुमति तहाँ विपत्ति निधाना तब उर कुमति बासी विपत्ति रीता हिता अनहित मानव रिप प्रीता कालराति निशिचर कुल केरी तेहि सीता पर प्रीति घन नेरी.
Ravana had a very old and sagacious minister named Malyavan. He felt very much gratified to hear Vibhishana's words. Your younger brother, dear son, is the very ornament of wisdom. Therefore take to heart what Vibhishan says. Both these fools glorify the enemy. Is there no one here who will remove them out of my sight? Malyavan thereupon returned to his residence, while Vibhishan began again with joined palms. Wisdom and unwisdom dwell in the heart of all. So declare the Puranas and the Vedas, my lord. Where there is wisdom, prosperity of every kind reigns. And where there is unwisdom, misfortune is the inevitable end. Perversity has obviously taken possession of your heart. That is why you will count your friends as foes and your enemies as friends. And that is why you are so very fond of Sita, who is the very night of destruction for the demon race.
तात चरण गहि मागौ राकहु मोर दुलारा सीता देहु रामा कहूँ अहिता न होय तुम्हारा.
Clasping your feet, I beseech you, grant this prayer of mine as a token of affection for me. Restore Sita to Rama so that no harm may come to you.
Buddha Purana Shruti Samatabani Kahi Bibhishana Niti Bakani Sunata Dasanana Uttarasai Kalatoi Nikatam Mrityu Abai Jiyasi Sada Satamora Jiyava Ripukara Pacha Muda Dattoi Pava Kasina Kala Asa So Jagamahin Buja Balajahi Jitamainahi Sitapasina Parapriti Satamilujai Tenai Kahuniti Asakahi Kine Si Charana Prahara Anujagahe Padabara Himbara Uma Santa Kai Ihai Badai Manda Karata Jokarai Balai Tuma Pitu Saras Sarasabalehin Mohimara Ramu Bhajan Hitanata Tumhara Sachiva Sangalaita Nabapatiga Gaya u Sabahi Sunai Kunata Asabhaya u. Vibhishana spoke wisdom, and that too in words that had the approval of the wise, as well as of the Puranas and Vedas. Ravan, however, rose in a fury as soon as he heard them. "O wretch, your death is imminent now. O fool, you have always lived on my generosity. Yet, O dullard, you have favored the enemy's cause. Tell me, wretch, if there is anyone in this world who I have failed to conquer by the might of my arm. Dwelling in my capital, you cherish love for the hermits. If so, go and join hands with them, O fool, and teach wisdom to them." So saying, he kicked his younger brother, who in his turn clasped his brother's feet again and again. Uma, here lies the greatness of a saint, who returns good for evil. It is well you have beaten me, since you are like a father to me, but your welfare, my lord, lies in adoring Sri Ram. Taking his ministers with him, Vibhishana departed through the air, exclaiming, so as to make himself heard by all, Ramu Satya Sankalpa Prabhu Sabakala Basatori Main Raghuvira Saranaba Jaunde Hujani Kori. Shri Ram is true to his resolve and all-powerful, while your counselors are all doomed. I therefore now betake myself to the hero of Raghu's line for protection. Blame me no more. Asakahi chala bibhishanu jabahin ayuhina baye saba tabahin sadhu avagyatura tabavanai kara kalyana akila kaihani ravana jabahin bibhishana tyaga baya ubhibhava binu tabahin abhyaga Chaleu harashi ragunaya kapahin kara karatamanorata bahumanamahin deki haunjai charana jalajata arunamridula sevaka sukadata je pada parasitari rishinari dandaka kanana pavanakari Je pada janaka sutanuralaye kapata kuranga sangadara tadaye
ura sarasarojapa abhubhyaindeki hauntehi tehi. No sooner had Vibhishana left with these words, then the doom of them all was sealed. Disrespect to a saint, Parvati, immediately robs one of all blessings. The moment Ravana abandoned Vibhishana, the wretch lost all his glory. Indulging in many expectations, Vibhishana, however, gladly proceeded to the Lord of the Raghus. On reaching there, I will behold those lotus feet with ruddy soles, so soft and so delightful to the devotees. Nay, I will behold those feet whose very touch redeemed the Rishi's wife, Ahalya, that hallowed the Dandaka forest, that Janaka's daughter has locked up in her bosom, that chased the delusive deer, and that dwell as a pair of lotuses in the lake of Shiva's heart. I am really blessed that I'm going to see those very feet. Jinnapaya hake padukani baraturahe manalai te pada ajubilo ki haun inanayanani abajai. I will go today and presently behold with these eyes of mine those very feet, in whose wooden sandals Bharata's mind remains absorbed. Ei bidikarata saprema bichara, aya usapadi sindu ehimpara, kapina bibishanu avata deka. Jana koi ripuduta bisesha. Tahira ki kapisha pahinai. Aye samachara sabatahi sunaye. Kahasugriva sunahura gurai. Ava milanada sana nabai. Kaha prabhu sakabu jai kaha. Kahai kapisa sunahu naranaha. Janina jai nishachara maya. Kamarupa ke karanaya. Veda hamara lena sata ava. Rakia bandi mohi asabava. Sakani titumani ki bichari. Mama pada saranagata bayahari. Suni Prabhu Bhajana Harasha Hanumana. Saranagata bachala Bhagavana. Cherishing its fond expectations, Vibhishana, where Sri Rama had camped with his host. When the monkeys saw Vibhishana coming, they took him for some special messenger of the enemy. Detaining him outside, they approached Sugriva, the lord of the monkeys, and told him all the news. Said Sugriva, "Listen, O lord of the Raghus, Ravana's brother Vibhishana has come to see you." The Lord, however, asked, "What do you think of the matter, my friend?" The Lord of the monkeys replied, "Listen, O ruler of men. The wiles of these demons are beyond one's comprehension. One does not know wherefore he has come, capable as he is of taking any form he likes. Obviously, the fool has come to spy out our secrets. What appeals to me, therefore, is that he should be taken prisoner and detained. Friend, you have thought out a wise course, but my vow is to dispel all fears from the mind of those who seek refuge in me." Hanuman rejoiced to hear these words of the Lord, who cherished paternal affection for his protege. Sarana gataka hunje tajahin nijana hita Hanumani. Tenarapaya Tinai bilo katahani.
Those people who forsake a suppliant, apprehending evil from him, are vile and sinful. Their very sight is abominable. Koti biprabada laga hinjahu, ahin saranato jauna hintahu, sanamukha hui jiva mohi jabahin, Janamakoti aganasa tabahin. Papavanta karasa jasubhavu, Bhajan murate bhavanakau, Jaumpai dushtaridasoi hoi, Moren samuk avaki soi. Niramala manajana so mohi pava, mohi kapata chala chidrana bhava, bedalina partava dasasisa, tabahuna kachubaya hani kapisa, jagamahun sakani sachara jete, Lakshmanuhanai nimishamahunte, Jaun sabita avasanara sanain saranain, Rakahuntai pranake nahi. I will not abandon even the murderer of millions of Brahmanas if he seeks refuge in me. The moment a creature turns its face towards me, the sins incurred by it through millions of lives are washed away. A sinner by his very nature averse to my word. Had Bibhishana been wicked at heart, would he ditch me? That man alone who has a pure mind can attain to me. I have an aversion for duplicity, wiles, and censoriousness. Even if Ravana had sent him to find out our secrets, we have nothing to fear or lose, O Lord of the monkeys. Lakshmana, O my friend, can dispose of in a trice all the demons the world contains. And if he has sought shelter with me out of fear, I will cherish him as my own life. Ubhaya bharti te anahu hansika kripa niket jaya kripala kahi kapi chale angadahanu samit. In either case, bring him here, the all-merciful laughed and said, Glory to the merciful Lord, cried the monkeys, proceeded with Angada and Hanuman to usher in Bibhishana. Sadaratehi agen karibanar, chale jahana ragupati karunakar, dorihite dekidviyo dvau barata, nayanananda dana kedata. Bahari Ram Chidama Biloki Rahe Utatuki Ekataka Palaroki Puja Pralamba Kajaruna Lochan Shamalagata Pranata Bayamochan Singa Kada Singa Kanda Ayata Soha Nitamadana Manamoha Narananira Pulakita Atigata Manadaridira Kahim Ridupata Nata Dasana Nakara Maimbrata Nisichara Bansai Bansa Jana Matsura Trata Sahaja Papa Priyapama Sadeha Jata Ulukahitama Paraneha. The monkeys respectfully placed Bibhishana ahead of them, and proceeded to the place where the all-merciful Lord of the Raghus was. Bibhishana beheld from a distance the two brothers, who ravished the eyes of all. Again, as he beheld Sri Ram, the home of beauty, he stopped winking and stood stock still, with his gaze intently fixed on the Lord. He had exceptionally long arms, eyes resembling the red lotus, and swarthy limbs that rid the suppliant of all fear. His lion-like shoulders and broad chest exercised great charm, while his countenance bewitched the mind of countless cupids. The sight brought tears to his eyes, and a deep thrill ran through his body. He, however, composed his mind and spoke in gentle accents. My Lord, I am Ravana's brother, gods. My body has the element of tamas, inertia, and ignorance, preponderating in it, and I have a natural affinity for sins, even as an owl is fond of darkness. Shravana suja susuni ayaun, Prabhu bhajana bhavabir, trahi trahi arati harana, Sarana sukada raghubir. Having heard with my own ears of your fair renown, I have come to you with the belief that my Lord dissipates the fear of rebirth. Save me, O hero of Raghu's line, reliever of distress of those who take refuge in you. Asakahi karata dandavata deka turata uta prabhuharasha bisesha dina bachana suni prabhu manabhava bhuja bisala gahiridayana gava Anuja Sahita Milidiga Bhatari Paitari Bole Bhajana Bhagata Bayahari Kahulankesa Sahita Parivara Kusala Kutata Harapa Basa Tumhara Kalamandalin Basahun Dinurati Sakadarama Nibahai Keibanti Mainjana Unta Tumhari Sabariti Atinaya Nipuna Nabhavaniti Parubala Basanaraka Karatata Dushta Sangajani Dehi Bidata Abba pada deki kusala raguraya jaun tumakini jani jana daya. When the Lord saw Vibhishan falling prostrate with these words, he immediately started up much delighted. The Lord rejoiced at heart to hear his humble speech, and taking him in his long arms, clasped him to his bosom. Meeting him with his younger brother Lakshman, he seated him by his side and spoke words that dispelled the fear of his devotee. Tell me, King of Lanka, if all is well with you and your family, placed as you are in vicious surroundings. You live day and night in the midst of evil-minded persons. I wonder how you are able to maintain your piety, my friend. I know all your ways. You are a past master in correct behavior and are averse to wrongdoing. It is much better to live in hell, dear Bibhishana, but may Providence never place us in the company of the wicked. All is well with me now that I have beheld your feet, O Lord of the Raghus, and since you have shown your mercy to me, recognizing me as your servant. Tabak lagi kusalana jiva kahun, sapane humana bisharam, jabalagi bhajata narama kahun, so kadama tajikam. There can be no happiness for a creature, nor can its mind know any peace, even in a dream. so long as it does not relinquish desire, which is an abode of sorrow, and adore Sri Ram, yourself. Tabalagi hridayam basata kalanana, lobha moha machara madamana, jabalagi urana basata ragunata, darin chapasaya katibata, mamata turana tami andi ari, raga dvesha uluka sukakari, tabalagi pasati jiva manamahin, jabalagi prabhu pratapa rabinahin, abamain kusala mite baya pare, deki rama pada kamala tumare, tuma kripala japara anukula, tahima vyapati biha babasula. Mainisi chara atiya bima subhau, shubha acharanukina nahinkau, jasurupa muni dhyana na ava, tein prabhu hare shiridayan mohin lava. That villainous crew, greed, infatuation, jealousy, arrogance, and pride, haunts the mind only so long as the Lord of the Raghus does not take up his abode there, armed with a bow and arrow, and with a quiver fastened at his waist. Attachment to the world is like a dark night fully advanced, which is so delightful to the owls of attraction and aversion. It abides in the heart of a creature only so long as the sun of the Lord's glory does not shine there. Having seen your lotus feet, O Ram, I am now quite well, and my grave fears have been set at rest. The threefold torments of mundane existence cease to have any effect on him who enjoys your favor, gracious Lord. I am a demon, vilest of nature, and have never done any good act. Yet the Lord, whose beauty even sages to clasp his bosom. Aho bhagya mama amitati, Rama kripa sukha punja, deke unayana biranchi siva, sebya jugala pada kunja. I am blessed beyond measure, O all-gracious and all-blissful Rama, in that I have beheld with my own eyes the lotus feet which are worthy of adoration, even to Brahma and Shiva. Sunahu sakha nijakaha kaha unsabhavu, jana bhushundi sambhu girijau, jaunara hoi chara chara drohi, avai sabhaya saranata kimohi, taji madamo kapata chala nana, kara unsajya tehisha sadhu samana, janaki janaka bandhu sutadara, tanadabasha sarada parivara, sabakai mama tata gabatori, mama pada manahi bada baridori, samadarasi icha kachunahin, harasha soka bayanahin manamahin, asa sajana mama urabasakayasin, lobi hridayan masaindan ujayasin. Tumasari ke santa priya moren, dare unde anain ana no nihoren. Listen, my friend. I need known to Bhushundi, Shambhu, Lord Shiva, and Girija, Parvati too. If a man and inanimate creation comes terror-stricken to me, seeking my protection and discarding vanity, infatuation, hypocrisy, and trickeries of various kinds, I speedily make him the very like of a saint. The ties of affection that bind a man to his mother, father, brother, son, wife, body, wealth, house, friends, and relations are like so many threads which a pious soul gathers up and twists into a string wherewith he binds his soul to my feet. Nay, he looks upon all with the same eye and has no craving, and his mind is free from joy, grief, and fear. A saint of this description abides in my heart, even as mammon resides in the heart of a covetous man. Only saints of your type are dear to me. For the sake of none else do I body myself forth. Saguna upasaka parahita nirataniti dridanem te nara prana samana mama jinakindvija pada prem. Those men who worship my personal form are intent on doing good to others, firmly tread the path of righteousness, and are steadfast in their vow and devoted to the feet of the Brahmanas, are dear to me as life. Sunu lankesha sakala gunatoren, tatentuma atisaya priyamoren, Rama bachana suniba narajuta, sakala kahainjaya kripa baruta. Sonata bibishanu prabhu ko ebani, nahin agata shravana amritya jani, pada ambuja gaibara himbara, hridayam samatana premu apara. Sunahu deva sachara chara swami, pranatapala ura antarajami, ura kachu pratama pasanarahi, prabhupada priti sariti sohibai, sobai. Abha kripala nija bhagati pavani, Dehu sada siva evan ranadira, maga turata sindhu karanira. Jada pisaka tava icha muradarasu asakahirama tilakate sara. Sumana brishti nababai apara. Listen, O King of Lanka. You possess all the above virtues. Hence, you are extremely dear to me. On hearing the words of Sri Rama, all the assembled monkeys exclaimed, "Glory to the All-Merciful." Vibhishana's eagerness to hear the Lord's speech, which was all nectar to his ears, knew no satiety. He clasped his lotus feet again and again, his heart bursting with boundless joy. Listen, my Lord, ruler of the whole creation, animate as well as inanimate, protector of the suppliant, and knower of all hearts. I did have some lurking desire in my heart before, but the same has been washed away by the stream of devotion to the Lord's feet. Now, my gracious Lord, grant me such pure devotion to your feet as that which gladdens Shiva's heart. So be it, replied the Lord, staunch in fight, and immediately asked for the water of the sea. Even though, my friend, you have no craving, my sight in this world never fails to bring its reward. So saying, Sri Rama applied on his forehead sacred mark of sovereign down from the heavens. Ravana krodha anala nija Svasa Samira Prachand Jarata Bibishanurakiu Inheuraju Akand Jo Sampati Sivaravanahi Dinahi Die Dasamat Soip Sampada Bibishanahi Sakuchidina Hiragunat. Thus did the Lord of the Raghus save Vibhishana from being consumed by the fire of Ravana's wrath, fanned to fury by his own breath, and bestowed on him unbroken sovereignty. Nay, he conferred on Vibhishana with much diffidence the same fortune which Lord Shiva had bestowed on Ravana after the latter had offered his 10 heads to him in sacrifice. Asi Prabhuchari Bajanin Jayana Te Narapasu Binu Puncha Bishana Nija Jana Jani Tahi Apanava Prabhu Sabhava Kapikula Mana Puni Sarbagya Sarva Sarapupa Sabarahita Udasi Bole Bachana Nitis Pratipalaka Karana Manjula Danuja Kula Galaka Sunika Pisa Lanka Patibira Kehi Bidita Tare Jaladi Gambira San Kula Makara Uraga Jasa Jati Ati Agha Dustara Sabanti Kalankesa Sunahura Gunayaka Koti Sinduso Saka Tavasayaka Jadita Dapi Niti Asigai Agarasana Jai. Those men who worship anyone else, giving up such a benign Lord, are mere beasts without a tail and a pair of horns. Recognizing Vibhishana as his own man, the Lord accepted him in his service. The amiability of his disposition gladdened the heart of the whole monkey host. Then the all-wise, in all forms, though bereft of all and unconcerned, and who had appeared in human semblance with a specific motive, and as the exterminator of the demon race, spoke words strictly observing the rules of decorum. Listen, O Lord of the monkeys, and O valiant sovereign of Lanka. How are we to cross the deep ocean full of alligators, snakes, and all varieties of fishes, most unfathomable and difficult to cross in every way? Listen, O Lord of the Raghus, replied the king of Lanka. Although your arrow itself can dry up innumerable oceans, yet propriety demands that you should approach the ocean and request the deity presiding over it to allow you a passage. Prabhu tumhara kula gura jaladi kaye kupaya bichari binu prayasa sagara tarahe sakala balu kapidari. My Lord, the deity presiding over the ocean is an ancestor of yours. Hence he will think over the question and suggest some means of crossing the ocean. The whole host of bears and monkeys will thus be able to cross the ocean without much ado. Sakat kahi tumaniki upai Kariyadai vajahunoi sahai mantrana yaha lakshmana manabhava Rama bachana suni ati dukha pava. Nata daiva kara kavana barosa. Soshia sindhu kara manarosa. Kadaramana kahun ekadhara. Daiva daiva alasi pukara. Sunata bihasi bole raghuvira. Esa hinkara badara humanadira. Asakahi prabhu anujahim sindhu sira gura ai. Ragurai. Pratama pranama kina sirunai. Bate punita darba dasai. Jabahim bibi shana prabhu painaye. Pachen ravana duta pataye. Friend, you have suggested an excellent plan. Let us try it and see if providence helps it. Lakshman, to hear Sri Rama's words. No reliance can be placed on the freaks of fortune. Fill your mind with indignation and dry it proclaim their faith in fate. Hearing this, the hero of Raghu's line laughed and said, "We shall do accordingly. Pray, ease your mind." Reassuring his younger brother Lakshman with these words, the Lord of the Raghus went to the seashore. First of all, he bowed his head and greeted the ocean thereon. Krishna proceeded toward the Lord. Ravana sent spies after him. Sakala charata harita hadeke prabhahin sarahin saranagata paraneha. They witnessed all the doings of Sri Ram and praised in their heart the Lord's virtues and his fondness for those who come to him for protection.
प्रकट बखान ही राम सुभाओ अति सप्रेम गावे सरि दुराओ रिपु के दूत कपिन तब जाने सकल बांधि कपीस पहि आने कह सुग्रीव सुनहु सब बानर अंग भंग करि पठवुन सीचर सुनि सुग्रीव बचन कपिधारे बांधि कटक चहु पास फिराए बहु प्रकार मारन कपि लागे दीन पुकारत तदपि न त्यागे जो हमार हर नासा काना तोहि कसलाधीस कई आना सुनि लक्ष्मण सब निकट बुलाए दया लागे हंसी तुरत छुड़ाए रावण कर दीजहु यह पाती लक्ष्मण बचन बाचु कुल धाती.
They openly commenced applauding Sri Ram's amiability, and in the intensity of their emotion forgot their disguise. The monkeys now recognized them as the enemy's spies. They bound them all and brought them to the presence of Sugriv, the lord of monkeys. Said Sugriv, "Listen, all you monkeys, mutilate the demons and dismiss them." Hearing Sugriva's command, the monkeys ran and paraded them in bonds all through the camp. The monkeys then started belaboring them right and left. The demons piteously cried for help, yet the monkeys would not let them alone. "Whosoever robs us of our nose and ears, we adjure them by Sri Ram not to do so." When Lakshman heard this, he called them all near him, and moved to pity he laughed and immediately had them released. Give this note to Ravana's hands, and tell him, read, destroyer of your race, what Lakshman says.
Kahe mukhagar moodh sana, mama sandesu udhar, Sita de milahu nata, ava kalu tumhar.
Further, convey to the fool by word of mouth my generous message. Surrender Sita and make peace, or your hour is come.
तुरत नाई लक्ष्मण पद माथा, चले दूत बरनत गुण गाथा, कहत राम जसु लंका आए, रावण चरण सीस तिन्ह नाए। बहसी दसानन पूछी बाता, कहसी न सुख अपनी कुशलाता, पुनि कहु खबरि विभीषण केरी, जाहि मृत्यु आई अति नेरी। करत राज लंका सठ त्यागी, होयहि जब कर कीट अभागी। पुनि कहु भालु कीस कटकाई, कठिन काल प्रेरित छलि आई। जिन्हके जीवन कर रखवारा, भयहु मृदुल चित सिंधु बिचारा। कहु तपस्विन के बात बहोरी, जिन्हके हृदय त्रास अति मोरी।
Bowing their head at Lakshman's feet, the spies immediately departed, recounting the virtues of Sri Rama. With Sri Ram's praises on their lips, they entered Lanka and bowed their head at Ravana's feet. The 10-headed monster laughed and asked them the news. Report to me, Sukha, your own welfare, and then tell me the news about Vibhishan, whom death has approached very near. The fool left Lanka where he was ruling. The wretch will now be crushed as a weevil with barley grains. Tell me next all about the host of bears and monkeys that has been driven over here by a cruel destiny. It is the poor, soft-hearted sea that has stood as a protector of their lives. Lastly, tell me the news about the ascetics, Rama and Lakshman, whose heart is obsessed with unceasing terror of me.
की भई भेंट की फिर गई, श्रवण सुजस सुनि मोर। कहसि न रिपुदल देव बला, बहुत चकित चित तोर।
Did you meet them, or did they beat their retreat on hearing my fair renown? Why should you not speak of the enemy's prowess and strength? Your wits seem utterly dazed.
नाथ कृपा करि पूछे हूँ जैसे, मानु कहा क्रोध तज तैसे। मिला जाई जब अनुज तुम्हारा, जात ही राम तिलक ते ही सारा। रावण दूत हमी सुनि काना, कपिन बांधि दीन हे दुख नाना। श्रवण नासिका काटे लागे, राम सपत दीन्हे हम त्यागे। पूछी हूँ नाथ राम कटकाई, बदन कोटि सत बरनि न जाई। नाना बरन भालु कपिधारी, बिकटानन विशाल भयकारी। जेहि पुरे देहु हेतु सुत तोरा, सकल कपिन मह तेहि बलु थोरा। अमित नाम भट कठिन कराला, अमित नाग बल विपुल विशाला.
My lord, just as you have so kindly put these questions to me, so do you believe what I say, and be not angry. No sooner had your younger brother Vibhishan met Sri Ram than the latter applied the sacred mark of sovereignty on his forehead. When the monkeys heard that we were Ravana's spies, they bound us and persecuted us in many ways. They were about to cut off our ears and nose, but when we adjured them by Ram not to do so, they let us go. You've inquired, my lord, about Sri Ram's army, but 1,000 million tongues would fail to describe it. It is a host of bears and monkeys of diverse hue and gruesome visage, huge and terrible. He who burnt your capital and killed your son is the weakest of all the monkeys. The army includes innumerable champions with as many names, fierce and unyielding monsters of vast bulk and possessing the strength of numberless elephants.
Dvibitamayand Neelanala Angada Gada Bikatasi Dadhimukha Kahare Nisatha Satha Jamavanta Balarasi.
Vivida, Menda, Nila, Nala, Angada, Gada, Vikatasya, Dadimukha, Kesari, Nishata, Sata, and the powerful Jambavan are some of them.
Ekapi Sabasu Griva Samana Ini Samakotina Ganeko Nana Rama Kripa Atulit Balatinahi Truna Samana Trelo Kahi Kanahi Asme Suna Shravan Dasakandhar Padma Athara Juthap Bandar Natakatak Mahaso Kapinahi Jo na tumhi jeete ran mahi Param krodha mein jahi sab hatha Ayas tena dehi raghunatha Sosh sindhu sahit jhap byala Purahi nat bhari kudhar bisala Mandi gard malavahi dasisa Ehi bachan kahi sab kisa Garajahi tarajahi sahaja asanka Manahu grasana chahat ahilanka.
Each of the monkeys is as mighty as Sugriv, the king, and there are tens of millions like them. Who can dare count them? By the grace of Sri Ram, they are unequaled in strength and reckon the 3 spheres of creation as no more account than a blade of grass. I have heard it said, Ravana, that the commanders of the various monkey troops alone number 18,000 billions. In the whole host, my lord, there is not a single monkey who would not conquer you in battle. They are all wringing their hands in excess of passion, but the Lord of the Raghus does not order them to march. We shall suck the ocean dry with all its fish and serpents, or fill it up with huge mountains. Nay, we shall crush the 10-headed Ravana and reduce him to dust. Such were the words that all the monkeys uttered. Fearless by nature, they roared and bullied as if they would devour Lanka.
Sahaja sura kapi bhalu sabha punisira para prabhu ram Ravana kala koti kahu jiti sakahi sangram.
All the monkeys and bears are born warriors, and besides, they have Lord Sri Ram over their head. Ravana, they can conquer in battle even millions of yamas.
Ram teja bala buddhi bipulai Sesha sahasa sata sakahi nagai Sakasara eka soshi sata sagara Tava brata hi punche unayanagara Tasu bachana suni sagara pahi Magata panta kripa manamahi Sunata bachana but bihasada sasisa Jasi mati sahaya kritakisa Sahaj biru karabachana dridai Sagara sanatani machalai Muda mrishaka karasi barai, ripu bala buddhi taha pai. Sachiva sabita bibhishana chake, vijaya vibhuti kaha jagatake. Sunikala bachana dutarisi badi, samaya vichari patrika kadi. Ramanujadini ahapati, nata bachai judava uchati. Behasibama karalini ravana, sachiva boli satalaga bachavana. 100,000 seshas would fail to describe the greatness of Sri Rama's valor, strength, and intelligence. With a single shaft, he could dry up 100 seas. Yet, being a master of propriety, he consulted your brother Vibhishana, and in accordance with his suggestion, he is asking passage of the ocean with a heart full of compassion. The 10-headed monster laughed to hear these words. It was because of such wits that he, Rama, took monkeys for his allies. That is why, confirming the advice of my brother, who is a born coward, he is persistent in demanding of the ocean, like a pet child, something which is impossible. Fool! Why do you bestow false praise on the enemy, whose might and wisdom I have fathomed? Triumph and glory in this world are inaccessible to him who has a cowardly counselor like Vibhishana. The spy waxed angry to hear the words of the wicked monarch, and taking it to be an opportune moment, he took out the letter from Lakshman. Sri Rama's younger brother, Lakshman, gave me this note. Have it read, my lord, and soothe your heart. Ravana laughed when he took the letter in his left hand, and summoning his minister, the fool asked him to read it out. Batanama hirjai sata jani gala sikula kisa Rama birodana ubarasi Sarana Bishnu aja isa Kita jimana nujaiva Prabhupada pankaja bring Ho hikirama sarana la Kalakula Sahita Patanga. Beguiling your mind with flattering words, O fool, do not bring your race to utter ruin. By courting enmity with Sri Ram, you will not be spared even though you seek the protection of Vishnu, Brahma, or Shiva. Therefore, abandoning pride, like your younger brother, either seek the lotus feet of the Lord as a bee, or be consumed with your family like a moth into the fire of Sri Rama's shafts, O wretch. Sunata sabaya manamukumustakai kahata dasanana sabahi sanai bhumi parakara gata kasa laguta pasakara bhaga bilasa kasukanata satya sababani samujahachadi prakriti abhimani sunahu bachana mama parihari krodha nata rama sanata jau biroda Atikomala Raghuvira Subhahu Jadyapi Akila Loka Kararau Nilata Kripatuma Para Prabhu Karihi Ura Paradana Eka Udarihi Janaka Sutara Gunata Hidije Etanaka Mora Prabhu Kije Jabate Kadena Baidehi Charana Praharakina Satatehi Nai Charana Siruchala Sotaha Kripa Sindhu Raghunayaka Jaha Kari Pranamu Nija Kata Sunai Rama Kripa Apani Gatipai Rishi Agasti Kinsa Papavani Rachasabhaya Uramuni Gyani Pandirama Padabara Himbara Muni Nija Ashrama Kahum Pagudara. Ravana was dismayed at heart as he listened to the above message. above message, but wore a faint smile on his face and spoke aloud for all to hear. The younger hermit's grand eloquence is just like the attempt of a man lying on the ground to clutch with hands the vault of heaven. Said Sukha, "My lord, giving up haughtiness, take every word of it as true. Abandon passion and give ear to my advice. My lord, avoid a clash with Sri Ram. The hero of Raghu's line is exceedingly mild of disposition, even though he is the lord of the entire universe. The Lord will shower his grace on you the moment you meet him, and will not take to heart even a single offense of yours. Pray, restore Janaka's daughter to Sri Ram. At least concede this request of mine." When Sukha asked him to surrender Videha's daughter, the wretch kicked him. Sukha, however, bowed his head at Ravana's feet and proceeded to the place where the all-merciful Lord of the Raghus was. Making obeisance to the Lord, he told him all about himself, and by Rama's grace recovered his original state. He was an enlightened sage. It was by Agastya's curse, Parvati, that he had been transformed into a demon. Adoring Sri Rama's feet again and again, the sage returned to his hermitage. Vinayanamanata jaladi jada kaitini dinabiti bole Rama sakopataba baya benu hoina priti. Although 3 days had elapsed, the crass ocean would not answer the Lord's prayer. Sri Rama thereupon indignantly said, "There can be no friendship without inspiring fear." Lachimana bana sarasana anu so shambari bisika krisanu satasana binaya kutila sana priti sahaja kripana sana sundaraniti mamatarata sana jnana kahani atilobi sana birati bakani krodhi samakamihi karikata Usarabija bain palajata Asakai Raghupati chapa chadava Yamata Lachimana ke manabhava Sandane uprabhu bisika karala Uti udadi ura antara jvala Makara uraga jashagana kulane Jarata jantu jalanidi jabajane Kanakatara barimana gana Nana Viprarupa Ayautajimana. Lakshman, bring me my bow and arrows. I will dry up the ocean with a missile presided over by the god of fire. Supplication before an idiot, friendship with a rogue, inculcating liberality on a born miser, talking wisdom to one steeped in worldliness, glorifying dispassion before a man of excessive greed, a lecture on mind control to an irascible man, and a discourse on the exploits of Sri Hari to a libidinous person are as futile as sowing seeds in a barren land. So saying, the Lord of the Raghus strung his bow, and this stand of the Lord delighted Lakshman's heart. When the Lord fitted the terrible arrow to his bow, a blazing fire broke out in the heart of the ocean. The alligators, serpents, and fishes felt distressed. When the god presiding over the ocean found the creatures burning, he gave up his pride, and assuming the form of a Brahmana, came with a gold plate filled with all kinds of jewels.
Kati pai kadarari parai koti jatana ko senj binayana manaka kesa sunu date himpai navanech. Though one may take infinite pains in watering a plantain, it will not bear fruit unless it is hewed. Similarly, mark me, O king of birds. A vile fellow heeds no prayer, but yields only when reprimanded. Sabaya sindhu kahi pada prabhu keri, chaha mahunata sabagu avaguna meri, gagana samira anala jaladarani, Inake nata sahaja jada karani. Tava pririta me anupajai. Shrishti hetu sabagranta nagai. Prabhu aaye sujayi kahanjasa aayi. Sote hi panti rahen sukalai. Prabhu balakina mohi sikadini. Margada punitumari Dola Gavana Sudra Pasunari Sakala Kadana Ke Adhikari Prabhu Pratapa Me Jaba Sukai Uttarihi Katakuda Mora Badai Prabhu Agya Pela Shruti Gai Karun Subegi Sujotumahi Suhai. The god presiding over the ocean clasped the Lord's feet in dismay. Forgive, my Lord, all my faults. Ether, air, fire, water, and earth, all these, my Lord, are dull by nature. It is Maya which brought them forth for the purpose of creation, under an impulse from you. So declare all the scriptures. One would attain happiness in life only by remaining where he has been placed by the Lord. My Lord has done well in giving me a lesson, but you have fixed certain limits for everyone. A drum, a rustic, a Sudra, a beast, and a woman, all these deserve instructions. By the Lord's glory I shall be dried up, and the army will cross over, but this will bring no credit to me. Your command, however, is inviolable. Thus declare the Vedas. I shall do at once what pleases you. Sunata binita bachanati, kaha kripala musukai, jehi bidi utareka patikataku, tata sukaha upai. On hearing his most submissive words, the All-Merciful smiled and said, Tell me, dear father, some device whereby the monkey host may cross over. Nata nila nala kapidvobai, lankai rishi ashishapai, tinaken parasakien giribari, tarihahin jaladi pratapa tumhari. Me puni uradari prabhu prabhutai, karahi umbala anumana sahai, ehi bidinata payoti bandaya, jehinyasa sujasuloka diogaya, ehi saramama utara tatabasi, hata hunata kala nara agarasi, suni kripala sangara manapira, turatahin hare rama ratanira, deki rama bala purushabari, harashi payod nidibaya usukari, sakala charita kahi prabhu hi sunava, charana bandi patao disithava. My lord, the two monkey brothers Nila and Nala got a boon in their childhood from a sage. Touched by them, even huge mountains will float on the ocean by your glory. Cherishing my Lord's greatness, I too shall help you to the best of my ability. In this way, my Lord, have the ocean bridged, so that this glorious achievement of yours may be sung in all three spheres of creation. With this arrow, my Lord, exterminate a race of vile criminals inhabiting my northern coast. On hearing this, Sri Rama, who was as tender-hearted as he was staunch in battle, immediately relieved the agony of Ocean's heart. The god presiding over the ocean was rejoiced and gratified to witness Sri Rama's astounding might and valor. He related to the Lord all the doings of those villains, and bowing to his feet, Ocean took his leave. Nija bhavana gavaneu Sindhu Shri Raghupati Yaha Matabaya Hu Yaha Charita Kali Malihara Jata Mati Dasa Tulasi Gaya Hu Sukha Pavana Samsaya Samana Davana Bishada Raghupati Gunagana Taji Sakala Asa Barosa Gavahi Sunahi Santata Satamana. The god presiding over the ocean left for his home. The idea of bridging the ocean commended itself to the blessed Lord of the Raghus. The story of Sri Ram's exploits in the skanda, which wipes out the impurities of the Kali age, has been sung by Tulsi Das according to his own poor lights. The excellences of Sri Rama are an abode of delight, a panacea for all doubt, and an unfailing remedy for sorrow. Therefore, giving up all other hope and faith, ever sing and hear them, O foolish mind. Sakala Sumangala Dayaka Raghunayaka Gunagan Sadara Sunahinti Tarahin Baba Sindhu Bina Jalajan Siya Vari Ramachandra Padijay Sharanam. A recital of the virtues of Sri Rama, the Lord of the Raghus, bestows all blessings. Those who reverently hear them cross the ocean of mundane existence without any bark. Yea, all hail to the refuge that is the feet of Sri Ram.
Nandan Sakala Mangala Mula Nikandana Shri 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 Lakshmi Narayan Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri 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 Ayodhyapati Ram Ji Ki Jai Shri 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 Pavan Sutta Hanuman Ji Ki Jai Shri Umapati Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Ramapati Ramachandra Ji Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Krishna Baldam Ji Ki Jai Shri Vindyavasini Jagatamba Maya Ki Jai Shri Vaishnavi Devi Maya Ki Jai Sab Santan Ki Jai Sab Hari Bhaktan Ki Jai Shri Guru Govind Maharaj Ki Jai Shri 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 Ananta Koti Baba Shri Neem Karori Santa Maharaj Ki Jai Shri 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 Siddhi Mata Ji Ki Jai Shri 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 Jivanti Mata Ji Ki Jai Sab Sanatan Dharma Ki Jai 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 Siya Ram. Bajrang Bali Hanuman Ki Jai Pavana Sutta Hanuman Ki Jai Sankat Mochan Hanuman Ki
Jai.
Thank you, everybody. I know we went over a little bit, but it was so nice to hang out and do this together. I would like to thank Keli, Ambika, Tara, Ganga, Brooke, Bela, Charan, Bihari, Shyama, Krishna Das, and Sarina for holding the whole structure together and getting us all connected in this way. Thank you so much. If you want to turn on your video and say goodbye as you leave, you're welcome to do that, and then we'll end the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jai Hanuman.
Jai.
Oh my God.
Sitaram.
Ram, Jai Jai Hanuman.
Sitaram.
Bye.
Thank you, Bela. Thank you all.
You.
Jai Jai Gurudev.
Thank you. Jai Jai Ram.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
How do I go?
Thank you. Much love to all.
Jai Shri Ram, Ram Ram. Thank you very much for everybody being here today.
In the words of Robert Thurman, that was really cool.
I said that once.
Thank you so much.
Just gazing at each other.
Okay, y'all. Marina's going to close the meeting. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Shri Ma Maharaj Ki. Oh.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the meeting now.
Ram Ram Sarina, thank you.
Sarina, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.